Hello, commercial streams. We're coming online for you right now. We've been live over at Jupiter.tube for about almost a half hour, and we're firing up a big show today. In fact, I gotta dust off the old show docs, fire up the custom large language models, review the RSS feeds, all so that way we could bring together the biggest news stories of the year in Linux, and then, of course, follow up on any details that have come up since we first covered those stories. So here we go. Welcome in. That's right. It's showtime. Linux Unplugged 541, the last live stream of the year. Mumble Room open, chat room open. It's go time. Come on in, everybody. Brantley's over there in Berlin. Kenji on the line, hanging out with Brantley and Seabase. Mr. Payne is en route. And the free stream, that's over at Jupiter.tube. If you're just joining us, I mentioned it earlier on the stream, but the details for the 32-bit challenge are now up on our website. Yep, at linuxunplugged.com/32bit. If you'd like to get the details and play along, you have until January 7th. Jeff and Minimech are in our chat room, or in our mumble room, I should say. They're playing along. Jeff, I heard you say your machine only has 1 gig of RAM?
It's a netbook, yeah.
Oh, nice. A classic. How much disk?
I put in, I think it's an old 120 gig SSD I had laying around.
Okay. All right. That's not bad for a 32-bit machine. You're going to be all right.
Yeah. Disk is fine. The RAM and that CPU, man, I thought, oh, I'm going to be smart. I've got an older 32-bit system too, but this thing, this netbook, it's got 2 whole threads. That's going to get me far. Boy, was I wrong.
That was a lot.
Yeah. Man, 2 threads? Well, nothing's optimized for 2 threads anyways, so you might as, what's the point?
Right.
That's so true.
You're talking about 2 threads. I have 1 and also 1 gig of RAM. Pentium M.
That's one big one, though, right?
Yeah, is that a fast thread?
That's one big one. Well, I booted it up. I realized that I had Linux Mate on it, 1710. So for 6 years, I have not touched that machine.
Wow.
So we will see what we get out of it.
That's what I had on another machine, too. That's funny.
Oh, yeah, you should try Minimech. You should try it. See what happens. Oh, no, you know what, Kenji? None of the repos are probably they're all going to 404, right?
Yeah. Oh, no, there is the obsolete server. So you can always put a server on it where you can at least go at the end of 1710, and then you could do the upgrades to 18.4.
Wow.
But I don't know. Probably 1804 is the last one that is 32-bit, so I could upgrade that one.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. That's the problem, again, that we have with, what's the Enlightenment distro that I'd like to use, but it's stuck on 1804 because 32-bit?
Buddy, Linux.
Buddy,
I was looking at that one.
I was
looking at that one.
I had to go take a look.
It is based on 1804, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was even going far because nostalgic. I was looking at Slackware.
Yeah. Yep.
And Slackware, per default, does not come with Enlightenment, but there is a redistribution by a user that includes, in fact, Enlightenment, but not the newest version, I think.
That's always the problem, isn't it?
Enlightenment makes this thing somewhat usable, actually, which is nice, but everything else, oh my. I think I'm going to change distros.
And it's interesting, on my desktop, I use Enlightenment in combination with all GTK applications, also with the base of GNOME. So I have the GNOME settings daemon running in the background and everything. So if I would really put Enlightenment on that machine, I would go really as simple as possible, not using Network Manager, but using the network alternative provided by Enlightenment, stuff like that, just to limit really RAM usage. That's the only possibility I have.
Yeah. I've been experimenting with different desktop environments, and even among the quote-unquote lightweight desktops, there's quite a big difference in their responsiveness on this older hardware.
Yeah. Have you tried something like Fluxbox and alternatives? That could be handy too.
Yeah, I could. I've been kind of going at this with the angle of, could I give this to a family member to use for the next 3 to 5 years? You know?
Yeah.
That's cruel.
Well, is this how usable is it in a modern world versus does it have to be a geek toy? It's kind of what my
Fair enough. Yeah, okay.
That's my
a good
goal.
measure.
What kind of hardware acceleration is on there?
I don't know if there's
If at
any.
all?
I don't know if
Is
there's
there
any.
any?
Yeah.
None.
Yeah. You know, I should dig into the drivers that it's using because I don't actually know what video drivers it's using. It's got to be something
Do you have a
super old.
do you have a machine somewhere you can?
Probably not. I have an old netbook. I might be able to, but probably the person that was so kind that is staying a little bit longer, that has the key to the C-base. He has tons of notebooks lying around at his place, so maybe
It's a 32-bit music.
There's a
maybe
good
there's
chance,
one
yeah.
lying there.
There's a good chance there's a 32-bit laptop then. Yes.
So what route will you take then if you get some hardware?
Not sure.
Did you call it a rut?
I have
Next
to-
OS route is the easy go-to, maybe.
Yeah, might be. Like, probably most of the applications should work. If not, I could always just comment lines out, right?
That's what's so nice.
I don't need this.
Jeff, listen to this.
I don't need that. I don't need this.
If I understood what he was saying, then yeah, I would listen. I don't know what that means. Comment things out.
Open your mind, man. Picture the config, man.
No, I do. It's still running. Yeah, it's still running on that Bonobo. It's running Nextcloud. I got all the little bugs and everything figured out, so that's doing great now.
Good.
And I've got a GPT thing running here now too. Just today, so it's been fun.
Jippity? You got your own Jippity?
Using
I'm
Olama
trying.
or are you using Llama GPT?
I couldn't get Olama to run in Docker, neither on Nix or Arch. So whatever,
Llama
I don't know
GPT?
what's going on there. So yeah, Llama GPT is running.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been seeing people all week in the Matrix chat room playing with Olama and Llama GPT. It's been great.
I'd like to get Olama running just so I can play with the other models and stuff.
Yeah,
though.
that's the nice thing.
Well, Jeff,
Yeah.
you can just add Olama to your next config. Literally just.
Well, I asked you like 3 times and you never responded. So
Where'd you send this?
Or-
I'm so sorry.
Also, since the files, the models are so large, I just did it on a burner Linode. Just if
fair
you just do like an Ubuntu install, you can just use their little shell script and have it up and running in 5 minutes. And then, you get their, like, because these models are huge, right? And at Linode, they download in like 5 seconds.
Not like, yeah, they're larger than most files, but the small ones are 3.8 gigabytes, I think. So yeah, but if you try,
That's still a lot on
then it
Starlink.
gets-
It's still a decent amount on Starlink.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
but yeah.
that makes sense. Yeah. And they're like chunked up, so it's not like one huge file that can be buffered well. It's like all those small chunks. So yeah, that's probably a lot of overhead.
It's cool though. I mean, I'm not complaining. But yeah, that's what I did. At first, I got it working locally, and I was like, okay. And actually, what I did for that is I just did it in a distro box, which is also a killer tool on Nix. Is distro box. I mean, you can use it anywhere, but I just created an Ubuntu distro box, and I just did it in there. I was like, oh, this is nice, but my internet speed sucks, so let's go do this somewhere else. But that's always kind of like your emergency hack for that kind of stuff is I just do it in a distro box. Speaking of emergency hack, Hector Martin noticed something that I thought was interesting. He says YouTube is deliberately crippling Firefox on Asahi Linux and gives you lowered video resolutions. And he dug into this and he says they literally have a test for ARM, and if so, thank you. And if so, they consider your system has garbage performance and cripple the available formats and codecs. Now, doing some further digging, it turns out that some browsers, like Chromium, are actually pretending to be x86. But here's the real reason why it seems like... Actually, before I read it, do you have a guess? There's Wes. Hey, Wes. Hello. Do you have a guess? Unless you know this already. Don't answer if you know this, Kenji or Brantley. But do you have a guess as to why YouTube is deliberately crippling Firefox on Asahi Linux? Dun, dun, dun. Why could that be?
I would assume it has to do with some like ARM compatibility in Firefox. That would be my best guess.
That seems like that's pretty close to the mark. You got any thoughts, Kenji?
Not like I would have thought about just ARM, but not just Firefox, because there's those very specific Android versions just for small devices, and maybe they want to serve just like very low codec when it's when it's ARM devices.
I'm going to give that one to
they
you.
can handle them.
I'm going to say that's a winner. You got it.
Wow.
But if it's Firefox, then wait, really?
Well, here's why. Here's why.
Okay.
I guess there's some TV platform out there that is on ARM that uses Firefox embedded that can't handle higher streams, and so they've done a server-side detect for ARM Firefox
Come on.
for this one TV brand.
That is a dirty way to do that. That's
Yep.
just lazy.
Yep. Now,
So
unfortunately,
everyone suffers.
Hector kind of comes at it as Google is intentionally blocking Firefox on Asahi. Well, no, but that is the end result. But that isn't the motivation or anything. Well, look at that, Mr. Wes Payne in-house. Hello, Wes.
Hello.
I started setting up the BitFocus companion for you,
Oh.
but I think like there's a missing dependency or something.
Okay.
And honestly, I spent most of my time just trying to find a USB-C to A cable that could reach from there, which I could barely find.
Right.
But if you got it working,
Look at that. I
you
love
would you would get access to the controls. Pop. Like
All
that.
right. Well, that's good motivation. That's an effort to show. Huh?
Dangerous.
Yeah, the whole show's crumbling down.
Oh god, it's a wild one. I mean, basically generated by AI. I kid.
Why are the humans reading it then?
Wes, this is Kenji.
Hello.
Kenji, this is Wes.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
This is fun.
Huh. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Kenji is newly formally deeply integrated into the NixOS community.
That's a good way of putting it.
Before I get to the good news of the week, I just want to mention some news that I think is pertinent to Linux users.
Ooh.
This is topics we don't normally get into, but we're just going to stray over into this area for a brief moment. In the FISA Reform and Reauthorization Act of 2023, which is being attached to the National Defense Authorization Act, which is a must-sign legislation, the federal government is broadening the term of electronic service communications provider, which
Do we get to count now?
well,
No.
if you're a tech, like if you do tech work, like on Wi-Fi repair, like networking repairs, configure networking devices, manage hardware that facilitates networking, or run an infrastructure that facilitates messaging, like phone messaging, text messaging, email, cloud drives, then
I gotta stop forwarding packets for Brent.
you can now be coerced, I guess. I don't know, compelled to
Threatened with fines and/or jail time.
Yeah, with less and less court oversight too. That's the other thing that changes here is less court oversight is now required as well.
'Cause that's what this area of our law needs.
Yeah, and the EFF of course is all over this, but it's going to pass. It's already made its way through the Senate and House, and it's on its way to Biden's desk, I believe. Yeah.
What is the new motivation for this? Because it's like, has something happened that all of a sudden they feel like they need to broaden this stuff?
I don't know how to answer that. I don't think so. I think it's the natural creep that we have been on for the last, since 9/11, really. The reason why I wanted to mention it is because I think there is an open source and Linux angle here. The language of the law specifically says that if you're a creator of you're making your Linksys and you're making a router firmware or whatever, if you're a creator of a network appliance, you're Cisco and you're making a switch, you have to give the federal government, like the FBI, the ability to start monitoring and there's supposedly supposed to be a way to facilitate this. I don't even know how that's going to work. But my thought is if you're out there and you're building like your own Nix router or you're building your own OpenSense firewall or something like that, it isn't going to have this built-in backdoor system because you're just building with like the technologies, the building blocks, especially if you just use a Linux box and make your own router. And it's going to get to a point now where folks that know how to do that are going to be free from automatic surveillance, and folks who don't know how to do that are going to be automatically and persistently surveilled.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a
so
similar
gross.
divide we have in a lot of places, right? Like, if you know how to make the machines work, you kind of got insider access to a lot of things, right? You got
Yeah.
your media maybe by channels not available to the general public for stuff that they can't get or have to buy 6 services for.
Right.
Yeah, you've got better privacy. You've got alternative choices for what options are available to you in terms of applications.
I just feel like this is this, not to be cliche, but this is a huge digital divide. It really is. And now when you look at the expansion of all of the surveillance authorization, I mean, okay, so here's what you need to look up if you're curious about what I'm talking about. House Intel Committee approves FISA Reform and Reauthorization Act of 2023 and National Defense Authorization Act of 2023. Those are the 2 laws that I'm talking about that broaden this. And I think it's pretty much a foregone conclusion. It's kind of on its way to the president's desk. So, and they're not going to say no to military funding with everything going on right now. That's just not going to happen. So I wanted to just bring that up because this, when we talk about the advantages of free software and open source, these reasons will not generally be mentioned in polite conversation, but they are a real and persistent reason to use Linux and to have control of your own platform. All right. Now, bad news out of the way. Let's talk about the good news of this week and why Brent is in Berlin, because Nextcloud Hub 7 has been announced.
Whoa! Ba, 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 ba.
Unified.
Crap, now I need an update?
Yep. Yes, Jeff, I know.
Jeff's favorite moment. You don't need
I'm
to,
very excited
but
to see
it
this
is highly recommended.
Yeah, tell us about it, Brent. What's hot and new in here? I see you got unified search out of Office. Ooh, that's nice. Phone
There's a
integration?
bunch of, it feels like one of those releases that has a ton of little things that all come together to be quite nice. So this unified search is interesting. Before we had, of course, search, but the interface has completely changed to be much more flexible and kind of more of an advanced by default while being user-friendly. I know, that sounds like everything all at once, but it is really quite a bit nicer. And it searches a bunch of places and content that wasn't included previously as well. So it tries to just be much more friendly when it comes to searching in terms of searching pretty much everything.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, of course.
Did they hire new designers in the last year or something?
That's a good question. What kind of designer specifically?
Well, because a lot of, okay, and I mean this with all the love.
Okay.
A couple of years ago, like Nextcloud would introduce a new feature, and it'd be a cool new feature, but it would take like 3 releases for the UI of that to get sort of refined. And now it feels like they're launching with really refined UIs out of this. I noticed it specifically with the new launcher, that new quick launcher, and some of the features that have come since then. And obviously the changes to files a couple of releases ago too, or like dramatic UI, but small things that make moving through it much quicker and stuff. And I'm just wondering, is there somebody looking at it with a new design eye or something?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's new exactly, more than just really refined and putting some weight on design early on in the process. Like you were mentioning, which is common with a lot of software projects, is like the technical gets solved first and the kind of interfaces get forgotten or implemented much later. But I think at Nextcloud, we're kind of lucky because we have Jan, who's one of the co-founders and is extremely design-minded. He's basically a designer. And
So he's got an eye for that.
He's one of those guys who just cares a lot about, having just the right font. Or
So
like
is
all
it a
these
matter
things.
of this is just more of a priority now?
Well, I would say from my perspective, it has been for sure, at least since I've been there, where the design is part of the conversation from the start, which is
good.
a refreshing approach. So I think you're seeing that in that when some new features come out, they at least have been well thought out in terms of design and user experience, which I would imagine is well welcomed from users. I mean, I'm a bit biased because I think they're cool, but I'd be curious to hear about some feedback too.
I don't disagree with Jeff. Now, this is Chris's personal bias, but I think it's too many releases. I depend on Nextcloud now like I would an Exchange server back in the day. And my Exchange server got updated about once every 8 years, 7 years. I'd do like, the major release. So like I'd probably skip a release of Exchange. So I might be on Exchange 5.5. I'd probably skip Exchange 2000 and I'd probably go straight to Exchange 2003 back in the day. And because it was the glue of the organization. It was the centerpiece of everybody's calendar, everybody's communication, document stashes, everybody's to-do list, let's be honest, like all of that. And also sales flow information. And so you didn't take Exchange down just for like any old new feature update. Even if you had to shoehorn Active Directory support on the back end to make 5.5 work for another couple of years, and it was brutal, you did it because Exchange was so damn important, you don't mess with it. And if Nextcloud wants to be serious in this area, they have to start thinking like that. And I'm not really interested in an update every quarter. I would like an update once every year or two at most. So I would be totally on board for like an LTS branch of the project that maybe gets some of the UI features, but like a lot of the other stuff doesn't change because for me, I don't know. It's like high velocity projects I feel a little uncomfortable about depending on. What do you think, Wes? Am I wrong?
Well, I wonder if you're sort of applying an outdated model.
Maybe.
You know, like if you've got your backups, if you got everything containerized, like
Yeah.
I think you have to ask the question, how much work is an update, right? Like updating Nextcloud is not like dealing with an Exchange server.
Yeah.
Most of the time you just
pretty
bump the
small.
number in your compose file, you hit up again, and
It's
you're
not
done.
so much, but I see I don't think it's so much the effort involved. I mean, you're right. It was a lot more effort to upgrade an Exchange server. I think it's the business's mindset of how precious the function of the software is.
Yeah, but in that case, like you need to be solvent for that, and with backups, with
I
being able
will.
to restore.
Yeah, I agree. And
I guess I just wonder, like putting that on the you need to move slower because I'm uncomfortable.
No, I don't think so.
I wonder if it's more of
an
what you're talking
LTS
about
branch.
later. You don't really want a bunch of the stuff that they're releasing in these things. Like if you had a bunch of small releases that was the core file system, managing file stuff, would you be feeling as much of this way? Versus like a bunch of extra stuff that seems like they're bolting on.
I mean, the whole thing's kind of a projection because honestly, I don't care if we update every single release. That's the reality for us. But I'm thinking like if I were to put myself as I deployed this for my clients in the place where I would have just deployed, email and Outlook and all that in the past, to them it's like the most precious thing because it's like if they don't get their emails, they don't do sales properly, and so you just don't mess with it. It's like this. It's the company jewels. And so in that mindset, I just feel like the velocity is really tricky because say you don't want to touch it for a year or two. I don't really understand. I guess the core problem I have isn't so much I don't want the features. It's I don't want things to change, but I also don't want to be left out on security updates.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
I'd like to
it's
see.
like it's like the RHEL thing. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Jeff.
Oh, it's all good. I'd like to just see better documentation on updating. It's like Wes just mentioned, you just changed the number in Docker Compose file. But if you look online on how to update Nextcloud, you'll get 16,000, different answers on how to update Nextcloud and all these different processes you need to do beforehand. And even if you follow like best ways to do things, it still fails, at least for me. So, official, like this is how you should update if you're using Docker or something would be wonderful.
Yeah, there's so many ways to deploy Nextcloud.
Yeah.
No kidding, yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I've been
Right.
hunting down all the different ways, and I keep,
Yeah.
at least once a week finding a new way to do it. I think that's part of the challenge, and a lot of these are community projects
That you guys don't have.
that aren't necessarily directly under our control. Like, I mean, we try to be friendly with all the community projects and try to support them as much as we can, but we don't necessarily have control over like when they're bumping to new versions or how they're bumping to new versions.
It's the same thing though when you think about it. Like you don't really have control when Debian packages a new release, right? That's been just a quick aside. I do want to Steelman, like during this year, Nextcloud has been first to market with AI features that companies like Microsoft are just getting around to. So, like, obviously moving quick this year has been beneficial in a way that has helped them position ahead of commercial software providers. So it is absolutely a very double-edged sword.
I do appreciate what you were saying though about I think there's probably multiple issues. There's like deployments in general, and then there's like what's in those updates and what is changing in the product itself.
Yeah.
And I wonder if like you kind of said there, like I don't want things to change. Like I have established workflows. I feel like I want to get a certain amount of time out of that before I have to update it again.
Yes,
and
that's
in that
it.
sense, even though it's open source, like because you can't get the security updates on the side, you're forced to go along with it, much like you would with a SaaS.
Yes. Yes, it's very SaaS feeling. Yes, that's it. And I just, and that's businesses. They invest in workflows, and some businesses want to get years out. Now, you and I are probably more on the side of Well, blow that up and come up with a new workflow. It's not that hard.
Yeah.
Right.
But that is not a lot of
yes.
a lot of folks for
Right.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Totally.
Well, the thing though is, like, we do support 3 versions of Nextcloud concurrently.
Oh,
and
okay.
They are supported for about a year, so you don't necessarily need to move to the next major version, assuming you're still within that release window.
So you get about a
you are
year?
getting security updates. Yeah, about a year for each version.
Okay.
I will link in the chat here to a doc that describes that a little bit more for folks. So, I mean, a year to me feels reasonable, but I'm curious how that feels to you, Chris, in your gut.
For a web app, yeah. The year, I think the era of 5 or 10 years is probably the era when the desktop platform was doing most of the lift of security, and the application was just interfacing with APIs and using
Kind of a thing on top to tie the features underneath together.
And so we could have 10 years of application support, because that's actually feasible, because Microsoft, in this example, is doing like 80% of the lift there, right? Maybe more. That's not how it works with modern web applications, right? It's a server-side component. There's a client-side component. The web is just an extremely dynamic industry that's moving all the time, but also constantly finding new vulnerabilities. The stack is immensely complicated with maybe thousands of individual little components and pieces and dependencies, each of which could have its own problem. So, yeah, you just can't. I mean, I can't see how you could even do more than a year. Realistically, you could claim more than a year, I suppose. But I don't see how you could do more than a year with an application like that.
Yeah, nice. This looks pretty good.
But then again, it's like what Wes was saying, too. Like, there really is something to this. It's like we should be not trying to replicate the rel keep it static model that, companies like Oracle and others have kind of forced upon an industry. We should be capable of separating application, data, and OS, and we should be able to update the applications more frequently. It really comes down to not the technological problem, assuming you can get it to update, but it comes down really, I think, to the workflow thing and the people side.
What's happening to that product?
Yeah.
Is it still doing the thing that you want it to do?
Yeah. Which really, I mean, I'm not saying they're not.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really,
Or
it hasn't disrupted us at all.
But at what point of integration you're using with Nextcloud does it become its own little OS? If you have like all your applications running on there, you have your AI integration, you have everything connected through Nextcloud.
Yeah.
You run, it's your platform at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, is it an app or the app host? Good question.
I mean, isn't that also true for Microsoft Teams and Google Workspace? But this is, I think, an alternative to those systems. So they have to be kind of an all-comprehensive work environment. And I don't know. I think it does. I think it can do the job. At least it's doing the job for my wife and I. And then here at JB, since I started using it more for my home organization, I'm now also like I'm using for the longest time, I only used files on Nextcloud, and now I'm using like the tasks and the calendar.
Right.
And other stuff. I'm just kind of expanding my usage as time goes on.
Digging in.
Chris, I know you were excited about there's a new feature that you can switch around the apps in the top bar.
Heck yeah.
And one of those means that whatever you have first in your top bar will open by default whenever you go to your right? You've been asking for this.
Yeah. We gotta update. ASAP.
Thank you, Wes. Thank you. Yeah, we got to update.
This is the reason.
Okay, I see a V2800 out 4 days ago.
You gonna do it? Attaboy, Wes. Attaboy. Yeah, well, let's screw it up right before our last 3 shows of the year. No, it's fine. It's good. It's good. I'm kidding. Man, we've had a good year here on the show. Just thinking about it really briefly, this show has touched numbers that I just didn't even think were ever going to be possible for a Linux podcast. I don't know if I should share what they are because it's probably bragging and all that, but I think it's a lot of things coming together. I think it's the audience looking to kind of dig into stuff that's a little more cutting edge too, like Nix and Matrix and the boost and all of that. I think it's all kind of come together. We've had a really good year here on the show. So just want to take a moment to thank our members. We've picked up some new members as we get to the end of the year as well. And if you're not yet, unpluggedcore.com. You can go over there. I know the RSS feeds sometimes get leaked. That happens. But I consider that your opportunity to trial it. And if you like what you're hearing, please consider becoming a member at unpluggedcore.com or you can support all the shows at Jupiter.party.
It sure is a party.
There's something going on over there at Seabase. You see that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you managed to pull in the streamed sats. So we have stream sat totals.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Probably slightly out of date now because, the sats
Oh, yeah.
are just streaming
Per
all
minute.
the time. Yeah.
The number was much larger than I was expecting.
I'm curious to...
What were you expecting when you saw that? What was your reaction?
Yeah. I was like, okay.
Yeah. God damn, it's great. I love the listeners so much.
Because it's hard because they're such tiny little amounts and... I never walk through all of the pages because you get like the various ways you can view into them, like on the Alby wallet or whatever.
Yeah.
You just see all of them, and since it's such tiny amounts, like
it doesn't
it's hard
really
to
click.
appreciate all of them.
Yeah,
You don't see them all in one place.
I agree. All right, so I bring this up because it's official now. Oh, great! This opened up in Spotify. Great, thanks. It's official now. They have a name for it. It's called the Pod Crash.
Pod Crash.
I thought Podcast Winter was better, or Advertising Winter. I felt that's better. But there's now an official name for what the podcast industry is going through, and it's called the Pod Crash. And Media Roundtable, which is a podcast dedicated to analyzing the media and advertising space, just did their December 13th episode dedicated to the absolute slaughter that the podcast industry is going through. And if you care, if you're interested, I won't reiterate, just Google Media Roundtable and Pod Crash. And so it feels really good to have our numbers up when pretty much everybody else's numbers are down and our membership's up. I hope we can continue that trend because I haven't said this publicly yet, but the reality is that Linode is out for next year, and they've been a sponsor. They were our first sponsor since we went independent, and they were responsible for my paycheck and a lot of things like help covering some of our services and paying the hosts. So that's kind of a thing. And the sponsors that we do have remaining, 2 of 5, are reducing their load. Now, that's not to say I won't continue to sell ads. We will probably continue to see some ad pickups later on in Q1. There will be a revenue drop in the meantime. But the reason why I'm not panicked about it is because we have seen an uptick in the memberships. I'd love to see more. And we have seen an uptick in the boosts throughout the entire year. And those are coming together to help fill that gap. And I just couldn't imagine being in the position some other podcasters are in right now. So just take a moment while Brent and Kenji apparently had to abandon the building. How'd I take a moment and thank everybody, because it's been, it hasn't been the easiest year. And I think 2024 is going to be even harder. I really do. But I think with the support that we've been seeing, and if it continues, I think we'll survive.
Yeah. The things to figure out, but also a lot of things to be excited about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And then on top of all that, like the first part of the year is going to be so crazy with Scale and NixCon and Texas Linux Fest and
I'm ready for it.
Linux Fest.
Already.
I know. Tell you what.
I mean, like in a good way.
Yeah, no, I'm actually really excited about it.
Yeah.
I am. So what did you think about this story here about Dropbox? Dropbox going through people's files and using it to train their own AI.
Yeah, right? I mean, isn't that one of the things that where you sneak it into whatever agreements you sign where they get the rights to whatever, do stuff with your data?
You combine this
Even
with...
if whatever, you slap on some sort of semi-anonymized thing.
I know, man, but you combine this with the surveillance laws and then how, like, as soon as the new thing comes up, all of these cloud companies were all about using your data in a new way. It took them exactly 0 seconds to start using your data in a new way.
I was reading yesterday an article, I think it was in Wired, reporting on Zuckerberg's Kauai compound.
Yeah.
Woo! And then, but they're just
What are the details? 'Cause I only saw the headlines.
I mean, it's giant. There's underground tunnels. There's like a bunker down there. There's one part that sounded legit pretty great is like a compound in the trees, where there's a bunch of like tree houses with bridges between them.
Wonder why Hawaii? Bezos just moved to Hawaii too.
Yeah.
What's going on? Why Hawaii?
It's an interesting article talking about that, not a great neighbor necessarily.
Oh, I bet not.
Yeah, and it's all
The
everything's
construction's gotta be maddening.
super NDA'd, and so that was a big theme of the article too. Was just talking about like Zuck's always been pretty obsessed with his own personal privacy, but making a business of selling everybody else's data. It's just sort of, and this is a theme of the
irony is so great.
Yeah,
Yeah, I saw that article float by. Also, Bezos was on Lex Friedman's podcast. And
Oh.
he is looking so ripped. It's gross. Because it's gone beyond just like big arms, but now it's like his neck's getting big and his head's getting bigger. He's looking more like Rogan, actually.
That's crazy.
Wonder if I could find a picture of it.
Let's
For
read
you.
a thing about his little real estate in our neck of the woods, too. I mean, he's like making Miami also, I think, a locust, but over in the rich part near Bellevue, he's got like 5 houses.
Oh, is that all?
Yeah.
Oh.
It was actually funny. The article made Steve Ballmer look pretty good because they went to go ask him about being neighbors with Bezos, and
Yeah.
he opens his own door, they say. Which, I guess is a thing when you're a billionaire.
Oh. Yeah, people opening your door for you, huh?
Well, Bezos has got a whole separate house so his chef can cook dinner there and then take it over to the main mansion with a golf cart.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Does the main mansion not even have a kitchen then?
Oh, I'm sure it must.
Why-
It's probably just for events or something,
All right, look at the absolute Chad. Look at this absolute Chad that Bezos is now. He's just a
Maybe he's working in one of his warehouses.
dude. Savage. I mean, even his head's big.
That's crazy, though. Yeah, wow.
He's clearly on some sort of growth hormone. These billionaires, they just get access to all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Me, meanwhile, I can't even get like access to basic antidepressants or biotics or whatever it might be I need.
That's got to be one of the first things you do when you get like crazy rich, right? You're like,
Get it.
okay, where are all the doctors I can pay to give me all the stuff that maybe helps me?
Oh yeah. That's Papa Bear, Bill O'Reilly. That's one of his go-to advices for his audience is get yourself a real good doctor who will do whatever you need them to do. That's one of his life hacks as you get older. Is get a great doctor. It's funny because that's one of my life hacks as you get richer. Just get a great doctor. Yeah, maybe after the pod crash is over. Yeah, absolute Chad. Tell you what, he's looking buff. Looking real buff. Okay, Brent Lee, good. He's eating a banana,
Oh,
getting himself ready. Good job, Brent.
Hey, I thought I'd be off camera for this part.
No, I mean that's the come on. That's the best part.
It's for scale, really.
He sounds ripped. Oh, really? I haven't. Okay, let's go hear this. Lex Friedman, Jeff Bezos. Let's go see if he sounds ripped. Do you think you think he sounds ripped? I don't even know what that would mean.
I'm excited to find out.
Oh, the title of the episode is well, no, which one is it? Oh, those are clips. I see. Those are clips. You want to do a clip? Okay, you pick. Truth is Uncomfortable or Amazon and Blue Origin?
Let's do that one.
Amazon and Blue Origin?
Yeah, why not?
All right. See if he sounds
The
ripped.
following is a conversation with Jeff Bezos.
Oh, gosh. Oh, that is just the whole episode.
Yeah.
It's the whole, it's not a clip. It's not a clip. And no disrespect to Lex, but as a podcaster, that style of presentation, I find the lack of inflection to be a social disorder. And so I find it really distasteful as a style choice. It is. I have found it is. It is a social disorder. And so he does it as an intentional style choice. Because when he gets animated in a real conversation, that's not how he talks. It's a style choice. It drives me crazy. All right. So let's see if he sounds buff.
A technical marvel. I
He
mean,
does sound buff. Whoa.
It's that new
Magnolia's-
implant.
Magnolia's saying, yeah, he seemed like he was lowering his voice. That's what I meant.
it's truly incredible. It's it's the 20th century version of building the pyramids or something. It's
Whoa, you guys.
What if
okay.
that's not Bezos? What if that's like
What do you think? Who do you think it is?
Yeah, dude's too important to go on podcast. That's
you
gotta
say
be one of his
who, I
fancy
say
clones.
what?
Okay, so here's Jeff Bezos from 1999.
Pure internet play. What matters to me is do we provide the best customer service? Internet, schminternet.
There's a little bit of buff guy in there. I'm like provide the best internet service. I heard.
Be extremely disappointed in ourselves, but there are no guarantees. It's very, very hard to predict. If you
So
go
much
back and look
blinking
at
going on
the
here.
companies created by the PC revolution, in 1980, you probably wouldn't have predicted the 5 winners.
He's so weird the way he leans in with the eyeballs and
The
stuff.
following is a conversation
All right.
with Jeff Bezos.
Back to this.
cool. And people get to choose whether they live on Earth or whether they live in space.
That's a different person.
Kind of sounds like he's got something in his mouth that he's chewing on.
Holy crap.
No, that's me.
Holy crap. That's, like when you hear mine, I just sound old, right? But he sounds like he's got a different mouth.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something in there. Like his tongue is so buff.
But they'll be able to use much more energy and much more material resource and space.
God, it's hard to take him seriously.
Yeah.
It's like those tongue exercises are working.
Yeah, he's doing mouth kegels all the time, and it's rough.
Yeah.
You know? Oh God, I feel gross now seeing that. Like I'm seeing somebody doing self-harm. Slow down, Chief. Like, and this is the other thing is like all these guys are so preoccupied with living forever.
Yeah.
But you're going the opposite direction here, Chief. You're like, you're gonna hurt your heart. Like you're overdoing it.
Yeah.
Like you got to understand. Like you might as well just be huge and fat. It's hard. What you're doing is hard on the bod.
What does Mr. Microsoft sound like these days?
Who are Gates or?
Yeah, Gates.
I was impressed by
The same.
how close Ballmer and Bezos' net worth was.
Oh, really?
I mean, not that. I mean, it's still like tens of thousands of or tens of billions of dollars different, but they're both like 100 and something billion.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Let's find Bill Gates from this week. Let's see if we can find an interview from Bill Gates this week. Bill Gates dancing to Justin Timberlake performance one day ago. What? What? Oh my God! There goes. Look at Bill Gates. He's right here. That's Bill Gates. He's dancing at a Justin Timberlake.
I mean, if we know one thing, it's dude likes to party.
That's not what I expected when I looked up Bill Gates on YouTube. This just came out. Wow. Well, you know what? He's feeling good. He's feeling real good. Yeah, I feel like Bill Gates still sounds the same.
There's a lot of great things that Brazil's done in its development. I got my introduction to the country when Microsoft was building its operations there, including working with one of the national banks to launch home banking.
All right, so now let's go back and listen to Bill Gates from the same exact time and see how he sounds.
What about this internet thing? Do you know anything about that?
Sure.
What the hell is that exactly?
Well, it's become a place where people are publishing information.
Right.
He sounds a little bit younger, but he still sounds mostly the same.
So everybody can have their own
Yeah, a little higher
homepage.
pitch,
Companies are there, the latest information. It's wild what's going on. You can send electronic mail to people.
It's wild.
He
Also,
sounds kind of actually a little excited about it.
here's one of my favorite moments from 1999.
Police and security guards in Belgium were caught flat-footed today by a cowardly sneak attack on one of the world's wealthiest men. The target was Microsoft Chairman Bill Gates, arriving for a meeting with community leaders. Watch what happens when a team of hitmen meet him first with a pie in the face.
Slam, right in the face, pie.
Gates was momentarily and understandably shaken, but he was not injured. The hit squad piled
got
on
him
with
again.
2 more pies before one of them was wrestled to the ground and arrested.
Got him
The
again.
others, for at least the moment, got away. Gates went inside, wiped his face clean, and made no comment. He then went ahead with his scheduled meeting. No word on the motive for this attack.
Probably Linux users.
Yeah.
That should have been the
I don't
pre-show.
know, though. How'd they afford the pies?
That could have been the pre-show. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
How does Neil sound exactly like Bill Gates? I could have swore that was him talking for a moment. It's the way he speaks. That's wild. I don't know. That's my weird brain.
Did you hear it? I didn't hear that. But I like that idea.
It's the inflection. It's the way he goes up and down.
Well,
I swear it sounded like Neil.
And
at
if
first.
Jeff, if you think about it, I've never seen Neil and Bill Gates in the same room at the same
Police
time.
and security
I
guards.
mean, true.
What about this internet thing?
Let's hear it again.
Do you know anything about that?
Sure.
What the hell is that exactly?
I do hear that.
Well, it's become a place where people are publishing information.
Right.
So everybody can have their own homepage. Companies are there, the latest information. It's wild what's going on. You can send electronic mail to people. It is the big new thing.
Yeah, but it's easy to.
I definitely hear it in the Sure.
Yeah.
I heard it there the most.
It's subtle,
And
but
the
there's
way
something
he goes
there.
up and down, and it's totally Neil.
That's hilarious.
Okay. We got to get started. It is time for us to go. But I do want to give everyone that's watching on the commercial streams a chance to join our chat room because this is our last live stream of 2023. And I'd love to have you just get an opportunity to title this thing. Because once you're in our Matrix chat room, you get to bang suggest. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get you hyped with a little bit of Go Vote music. Go over to jupiterbroadcasting.com/matrix, or that should be in the description. There should be links to our chat room. And then we're in the general room, and you can bang suggest as we go along, and you can help title the last live episode of 2023. So, with that, I'll switch over to our special vote music just to get you hyped. Get in that Matrix room. Here we go. It's your last moments. Everybody into position. It's almost pod time. As the sun rises, the world's largest Linux podcast assembles for one last live stream. Can you be the hero that titles that episode? Get in the Matrix chat. We're depending on you. Okay. I hope you're in there. It's time for us to get to work. You know, I'm thinking, guys, as we go along here, if there is like a story ahead that you see that you got something to say and, you know, there's a couple stories in the way, we can skip because we don't need this to be an hour and a half show.
Yeah, true.
So feel free, jump in where you feel like it, move us right along as we need to. We don't need to spend all day on every story, but we also don't want to be like bam, 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 bam. So just pick the ones you got something to say about.
Yeah, that's quite the doc.
We could each just pick one from each month.
That's interesting.
Oh.
And then move on. And then Kenji.
Do you like the boost order?
Yeah. And then Kenji, if you have something you want to say and add, just raise your hand in there and I'll just work you right in. And yeah.
Sure.
All right. And Mubba Room, you know what to do. You just tag Wes or myself with Mum and let us know if you want to jump in for comments on a story. And I'll try to see it. I will do my best to try to see it. It's going to be behind me, so it'll be a little tricky, but I'll do my best. And Wes will try to watch too. Right, Wes? Yes.
Of course.
All right. Brentley, are you over there with your cool setup? He's got a cool guy setup this week.
What?
Oh, yeah. Why is it so cool?
Oh, well, because you're using both of your inputs. You got multiple tracks in the Reaper. Like,
I know. It's
right? Like you got
fancy pants.
Is Drew going to be
over
happy or sad?
Oh, I don't know.
It's on 11.
Oh,
well, we're also
that's exciting.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I hate
also
it
in a
when it's at
room
8.
that has changed since the last time I was here. Previously, I was like over here, but there's new sound like treatment on the walls and stuff. So I'm thinking,
See, fancy guy.
Drew might be a little happier than last time.
Wow, how about that?
I know.
It's not often we do
know.
an upgrade on
Official
that.
Drew prediction.
Yeah, all right. We'll see about that, right?
As long as the bell doesn't ring.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I did notice there's a bell that anybody outside the room can ring when they want.
It just flashes a light.
You know how that makes Drew feel,
I get so mad.
you know? So
Yeah, but how does Wes feel about it?
I don't think. I mean, Wes doesn't care because it's not the distro.
It's not the distro. It's how you use it.
Yeah, and it turns out if you try hard,
Turns
enough.
out if you try hard enough, you can.
Yeah. So
Stand by that.
yeah. Also,
Poof, magic.
and if Wes is never here, just in case.
All right, so then Wireguard.
Yeah, but
you can
sometimes
tell
he
me
does struggle.
Wireguard.
Sometimes though he struggles with saying certain words, doesn't he?
No, never.
Yeah.
I was hoping you'd play the blah 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 word.
I don't have that one ready because it's so mean.
Chris.
But I do have this one. How's this?
Conversion in progress.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't want to hurt feelings. So I don't have.
No,
the
no,
mean
I'm
ones.
down with that. I like the clip.
The Bubba Bubba word.
Yeah, it's great.
We should do more of that. But the problem is Drew would have to take the stuff he cuts out, or we'd have to take it from the live feed.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Well, Drew could just grab it as he sees fit. I mean, he's got a good sense.
I
of
do
humor.
have some from him. They're mostly of Mike.
should make a little script to just cut out things from the live feed. We just put in the time coordinates.
You know, with the Stream Deck, and if we both had a button, we'd have a higher chance of hitting it. And if we just on the screen had a like marker drop or something.
Oh, true. Yeah.
Just all you got to do is marker drop.
Yeah, we can revisit them after.
All you got to do, marker drop.
A different podcast I'm listening uses the Magic Apple remotes, and so he puts timestamps just on the remote that he has.
Wow.
To remind himself where he should cut and like where funky stuff.
That's like editing in real time.
How does he have the
impressive.
remote paired to his audio, whatever?
So he's using macOS. So he has just like a very specific small program that just I forgot the name, but I can look it up. I can send you the link.
Listens for the remote events or whatever, though.
Yeah, it listens for the remote events, and it does something with another audio software. I forgot the name.
Huh.
So, but it's basically it's very simple. Once it's set up, so it's really just like a couple events firing.
That's nice because you just hold it in the hand.
Right.
We could definitely do it with the Stream Deck, though. Absolutely.
Yeah, I was gonna say that sounds like our kind of pipeline. That's neat.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
Sounds like upgrades in the new year.
And he also has one for each member, so that comes on the show. So, but they mute and unmute themselves with the remote.
That's great. Although, believe it or not, I'm more of a fan of controlling the mute. Or, if it's a system where we both have control, that's fine too. But you'd be surprised how often people forget to unmute themselves.
It takes a while to get that background sense.
And how infrequently I forget. So the ratio's better.
Not zero.
I'm not saying it's perfect.
I can confirm.
Yeah, it's not perfect, but it's better. You know what? Because the thing is,
It turns out if you try hard enough, you can.
you see?
Those Wesses, they're so impressive.
Okay, Brentley. I think it's time.
Oh, yeah, I got to do the work. All right, okay. I'm hovering.
All right.
Practice with the button. This is the time it pays off.
In a world where one man's got a podcast. All right, I don't want that screen up. Okay, Brent, you ready? Here we go.
I'm
and
up,
a 3, and a 2, record.
What kind of countdown is that?
Wow, do you need me to start over? Did you mess it up?
No, we did it, but
Okay.
it was close.
He expects European seconds now.
Yeah, well, I don't have all day, so.
They're
all right,
metric.
let's go ahead and do our 4 count. Kenji, please jump in as well on the number 4. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4.
4.
Well done. Well done. Well done. Okay, and with that, I think we're in the go position for a Saturday show.
Locked and loaded.
When's the last time we did a Saturday show? Jeez.
I
Never.
don't know, a month or
Yeah.
two ago?
Yeah, maybe it's been more than that. So when we get into it, we'll do our hello, I'm Wes, I'm Brent, and I'm Chris, and then we'll say hello to the Mumble Room, and then I think Kenji will bring you in after that. So you'll have like a spot
good.
that's obvious for you to say hi, so you don't have to worry about it being awkward. And
Okay, yeah, sounds good.
so okay, I think we're set. All right. This is kind of exciting. It's our last live show of the year, and there's still a lot of work to do the remainder of the year. We have a couple of big episodes coming up. Brent's way behind, I noticed, on shining the tuxies.
I think some of them are rusted.
Yeah, fingerprints.
They're on the wrong continent, it seems. Or I am? I'm not sure.
I tried to tell you to bring them with you to Berlin. I told you, dude, you got to bring the tuxies with you because somebody's got to polish them.
Not enough suitcases.
It used to be Wes's job, but it's always newest guy on the show. It's always newest guy on the show is to shine the tuxies.
Can we get a new guy?
Also, while you're at it, you better start working on your predictions. Are you guys working on your predictions?
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah, I'm bringing the A game,
I'm
boys.
very far behind.
Oh, I'm bringing.
no.
You watch out. I'm coming. Hello, friends, and welcome back to your weekly Linux Talk Show. My name is Chris.
My name is Wes.
And my name is Brent.
Hello, gentlemen. Coming up on the show, well, if you skip the news this year, we got you covered. And if you've been following the Linux news, well, we'll get you updated. It's our top stories and follow-ups for 2023. And then we'll round out the show with some great boosts, some picks, and more. So say good morning to our friends over at Tailscale by going to tailscale.com/Linux Unplugged, and you can try it with a free account up to 100 devices for as long as you like, and it's protected by
WireGuard.
That's right, WireGuard. Connect your machines on your own private network and support the show at tailscale.com/Linux Unplugged and get it for free for up to 100 devices. And a big time appropriate greetings to our virtual lug. Hello, Mumble Room.
Hello.
Hello, Chris. Hey, Wes. And hello, Brent.
Hey, guys.
Well, hello.
You know what? Not a bad little showing in the on-air for a Saturday.
Yeah. Weird time.
Weird time, weird day. It's not the same bat time, and it's not the same bat channel. We have a couple people up there in the quiet listening as well, so thank you for coming in. And then we have an extra special guest joining us on the line in Birdland. It's listener Kenji. Hello, Kenji. Welcome to the Unplugged program.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Jump in as you feel fit. Brent hasn't told me a lot, but he did tell me that you're a Nix guy. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, sure. So when I was using or was starting to use Linux much more, I was trying to figure out which distro I should use. As many of you know, the eternal distro switching. So I was doing that in a very short amount of time, and I was landing on Nix in close to a week. I was just doing one distro and another distro every couple of hours because I had the time at that time, and I was really trying to find something that I could work with and live with. And I think when I landed on NixOS, it just clicked. It made sense. It seemed, I know it from the outside, if I say now, it seemed simple, like the most simple solution. It might not sound like the correct way for everybody. But for the things that I wanted to do, it just seemed like the simple and just the solution that was ready baked. If I would have wanted to do something like that on other systems, for example, on Debian, then I would have to reimagine and come up with the same things again that Nix already solved for me. I was looking for something that I could just have a script or a file. I have everything defined and just install everything, and everything is finished. And I found that with Nix, so I stuck with it, and slowly I kind of kept getting sucked into the community and all its lovely people.
Beautifully said.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just going to expand on that slightly, but up to you if you want to move.
Yeah, it's just the intro. Let's keep going.
Yeah, fair enough.
The Tuxies are next week. It will be our special annual event, episode 542. We've been running the numbers. Wes always whips together a nice script to massage all the data for us. Or you're already looking at it, aren't you?
Of course.
Been watching stuff. Yeah, we got a good showing this year. I'm happy about that. And I'm very excited to go through and announce our winners. And it really is, and I think the community nailed it in the Matrix chat room. This is the vote this year that really counts. Your vote in the Tuxies really mattered. And actually, as you're listening, you'll have I guess we could keep it going for a couple days.
Yeah.
Because we could pull the numbers towards the end of next week as we release. Mm-hmm. So I suppose you'll have a few more days. And then last but not least, we have launched officially the 32-bit challenge. And the details are available on our website to just make it easy. If you go to linuxunplug.com/32bit, it kicked off last week. It runs until January 7th. And we'd love it if you wanted to join us. It's been a lot of fun. It's been nostalgic for me. It's been challenging, more than I expected. We'd love it if you boosted as you went along so we can update everybody listening and ourselves. Of course, you can also participate in our 32-bit chat room. We'll have a link in the show notes. And if you can, join us on Sunday the 7th when we wrap up the challenge, either in our chat room or in the Matrix room, and tell us how it went and give us the full report. But there are a couple of things you have to do There is also a bailout punishment if you choose to participate, and there's more details, again, at linuxunplugged.com/32bit.
There's something really pleasing about the idea of 32-bit machines sending boosts in, you know?
Yeah, no kidding. Interesting. Yeah, so you got until January 7th. The gotcha is, though, you do have to run this system with your day-to-day workflow for 5 consecutive days. So that, you know, when you consider the holidays and whatnot, that's going to sneak up on you pretty quick, I think.
Start the new year in the last decade.
And I already got mine up and running. So I will easily, I think, we'll see, unless something goes wrong. I don't know.
Where'd you stash that thing again?
I don't think I'm going to tell you boys, but I do think I'm going to make an abrupt kind of pivot in my setup.
Oh, no, really?
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear all about this.
Yeah, I'll have to tell you about it. And then last but not least, we just wanted to make sure you knew that the very first NixCon North America, it's a bit of an experiment, but they're kicking it off. It's going to run alongside Scale March 14th through the 15th, and Scale runs until the 17th. And that's going to be in Pasadena, California. And I'm very excited about covering this. I mean, what other show is really going to be able to cover this, right? What other show? This is an event built for us.
Yeah, we'd sure be missing out if we couldn't make it.
Really? Well, I think, we're trying to raise 8 million sats to cover the cost of driving the crew down there, renting an Airbnb, and doing some productions, and then driving back. And you know what? Gosh darn it, if we aren't doing so bad, we're at 41% of our goal so far. We have raised 3,238,000 sats so far. We'll be putting that towards the trip. Not bad, right? Not bad at all. I need to do another round of the Fiat Fund donations. I didn't do that, so we couldn't get that number updated because that's just a manual process. But we should put a link to that. If you do want to do a one-time Fiat Fund donation as well and you don't want to do the SAT thing, we'll have a link for that. But we're getting there. We are getting there. I'm very excited about this because this is direct support by the audience, and it just keeps us a little weird, and I like that. I like
doing it our own way.
Mm-hmm. All right. And with that, let's get into the news of the year, boys, the big stories. We went through and looked at our show notes for the year. We looked at the RSS feeds and what the various sites were covering. And then for fun, didn't really use it much, but for fun, I also threw Phoronix, LWN, 9to5 Google, OMG Ubuntu, the Register.
That's a good little list.
Oh, there was and then one that was just an RSS feed, but I forget which one. All into a large language model, and kind of asked it and kind of interviewed it about the year's stories, which ultimately wasn't super useful, but was good for jogging my memory of some of the details.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say it was worthless, but it was an interesting process to prepare for this episode. And one of the things that I got through this conversation that I'd kind of forgotten about is this is the year that Ubuntu rolled out their new installer. We really saw this Flutter installer come out. It debuted in 2304 in Lunar Lobster in April. And we weren't sure if they would ZFS or not, and there was all those questions in there. But ultimately, I think people were pretty happy with the 2304 and 2310 releases this year, both of them.
Yeah, it seems like the new installers, I think, so far, a success. And I wonder, too, is it a good, there's other apps out there, obviously, the App Store, et cetera, that are using this new sort of canonical Flutter push. But that installers, for nerds out there installing Ubuntu, it's kind of the first thing you see, and I wonder if it's a bastion of more of this to come.
And it's not something a distro redoes very often.
Even if they should.
Especially Ubuntu.
I feel like we haven't really heard anyone complain about it. So I think that's actually, the silence is a good sign in this case. It's been out for many months.
Remember in the 2310 release, though, there was that language issue.
Yeah, there was a little hiccup around the rollout, but, at this point, that's all fixed.
Yeah. And so that kind of was sort of unfortunate with the new installer. And if you used the old installer, you didn't have that problem, right. And they had to pull the ISOs and that kind of stuff. In January of this... Oh, go ahead, Brent.
Oh, I think you're going to bring up the same thing, so you take this one.
No, go ahead.
I feel like there was another really interesting development in January. Maybe not specific to Linux, but it sure hit you, Chris. Stadia shut down near the end of January.
Yeah.
And man, did that... Wasn't that one of your predictions?
Yeah, unfortunately, I think we all saw it coming. What stinks is now looking back, it shut down on January 28th. They gave us a heads up, right? But looking back, it's not so great. BoilingSteam.com had a really great kind of retrospective and did an interview and also looked at some documents that were leaked from Google around Project Stadia and kind of put all the pieces together and paints a picture where the Linux compatibility was a sore point for developers, and it did lead to delayed adoption by developers on the Stadia platform, and it was Google's internal analysis that a large library of games was going to be necessary for this platform to be successful, and that they were already at a pretty distinct disadvantage because EA and Steam and Microsoft Xbox all have their own libraries locked up behind their own walls and couldn't be on Stadia. So then they had that issue combined with developers were resistant to porting to Linux and Vulkan. And it did become more of an issue than I think, some of us hoped. And now you look at Valve's approach with Proton, and I think it kind of validates their approach with the Steam Deck and that just whole runtime environment. Yeah, it's a shame because Stadia was the best tech. Of all of the game streaming platforms, Stadia had the best get up and go experience. It had the best tech. It was the fastest.
Yeah, it was pretty nice. I mean, I used it a little bit back in the heyday.
Yeah.
You know, you're just touching on it there, but last January, Wine 8.0 released, and Wine's been playing a huge role in all that fun gaming we've been doing.
Yeah. Yep.
Wine.8 was a good release. There was a bunch of stuff. Their work on the conversion to the PE format for a bunch of the modules in Wine. Also added a special syscall dispatcher to avoid the overhead of a full NT system call. They were also chasing this work with like some WoW 64 upgrades where eventually, it could be fully possible to run 32-bit apps without needing 32-bit libraries. And there's just so much cool low-level work going on in Wine that, we gloss over when you just get the new update and more of your games work.
Yeah, and they started the year with 8.0.
Yeah.
We're about to end the year with 9.0. And I remember covering 1.0.
Oh, no way.
The project's not young, so it's pretty great. It's pretty great to see that.
It's kind of fascinating, too, because I feel like there was a while where I was using Wine, but it was kind of like, I don't know, you could get the odd installer to work. You could kind of get like the really basic Windows apps to work, but maybe an older version of Word or something, but you weren't really relying on it. And these days I feel like Wine is, there's plenty of apps that just don't work, but for the ones that do work,
yeah. And it's more often it does now.
Yeah.
And then you can combine it with bottles and other tools like Crossover and PlayOn that allow you to manage Wine environments. You can isolate them. And
got all the extra side features with the Proton stuff and all the different acceleration shims. And yeah.
It's pretty wild. Yeah, a little bit moving forward now. In February, XFCE announced they were going to begin the hard work of going to Wayland after years of community speculation if they would embrace the Wayland future. We got the announcement that yes, just it'll take us a while.
I've been appreciating XFCE actually a lot lately because I've been on my work Mac. I've got a little VM going that I'm using to run Docker containers and do other things. And I put XFCE on X, just running in there. And it's been great as a little RDP target to jump in when I need to do the very occasional, it's mostly command line work in there, but very occasionally it's nice to be able to do a Linux graphical app. And it's so lightweight and just works.
It's great for remote desktops. It is. I mean, so is Mate and some of the others,
True.
But XFCE is really great for that. I've definitely noticed that. And we saw 420, which was a big release. Big noteworthy release. Asahi, obviously a big year for them, but in February is when we saw the. But in February is when we saw the special interest group over at Fedora begin to form. Now we hadn't gotten the proclamation that this was the official Asahi distribution yet, but we did see a special interest group. We start to see it make possible to get Fedora and Asahi working together. It was around this time you and I switched my MacBook Macs.
Oh, yeah.
Over to Fedora Asahi. So it's been running for months and months, just fine. Of course, news would come later that they were the official distro. Canonical went real.
Ah, yes, they announced the general availability of real-time Ubuntu with 2204. Sort of promoted that to general availability in February, which I think just sort of sort of pre-ran a pretty good year for the real-time, trying to get the last stuff, the last final patches over the line for the real-time kernel work that's been, I don't know, a decade in the making. But a lot of the stuff has already been merged, and I don't think I know there was stuff about the kernel printing that needed to be like properly threaded now to make it work, and I don't know if that's quite finished, but it's getting really close.
I felt like you and I, even with audio production and stuff, have never really personally felt the need for real time. We spent the last year and a half or two hearing use cases for real time Linux, so it's good to see. Brentley, do you want to take the plasma one there?
Yeah, sure. Just give us a sec. We're kicking someone out here.
Of course.
Hoodlums.
Hoodlum management. I get it.
Yeah. It's public space.
Well, we also saw Plasma 527, which I gotta say was one of my favorite versions of Plasma. Super stable, had tons of features coming out, if you remember that. And man, I ran that thing for a long, long time.
This is the release we're kind of waiting and seeing, see where Plasma 6 goes. I think we're kind of still in that phase, but remember, this is where we got K-Win tiling in here and the multi-monitor overhaul. I think they really worked hard as a project to make this a very special release. So I thought it was worth a mention in here. And yeah, I'm running it. It's great. It's great. I don't really have much to say, but it's just really nice to see the team give us such a solid release while they worked on 6 for a while.
Yeah, you're right. It's a nice way to end the 5 series.
Yeah. Also, FFmpeg had a fantastic year. 6.0 was released in March, and then just a couple of weeks ago, maybe a week ago as we record, FFmpeg's command line client now has multi-threading merged.
This
massive,
is exciting.
massive.
So new, I haven't even had a chance to try it yet.
I don't know if you know this, but multi-core processors have been around for a little while. This 32-bit challenge is making me acutely aware of that. So it's really good to see this. I hope you understand. This really, FFmpeg, absolutely one of the all-star projects. If we could give a Tuxie to just like honorable Tuxie every year, go to FFmpeg.
We should each spend one day just worshiping FFmpeg per year.
We need to have an FFmpeg shrine here at the studio.
Yeah.
With LEDs instead of candles, though.
Well, this was also the time that we got wind that Docker was deleting open source organizations.
Womp womp.
The
this
continued
went bad
descent
for them.
of Docker.
Yeah. This was like the community reaction was fire over this.
Yeah, and they had like walk stuff back,
Yeah.
and there was really no, it turned out not to be quite as bad as it first seemed, but the communication was just terrible throughout. And I think that and some other recent missteps have meant that whatever trust was kind of left there is probably gone.
I think this is one of the biggest PR in the tech space, PR blunders of the year. I mean, I think maybe Red Hat has one of the other ones, but we'll get there. I feel like this really went bad as it possibly could. Because remember, there was also the concern about namespace squatting, and that was a major concern for free software projects. There was this really strange language about like really arbitrary decisions on what made a commercial project versus it was so well.
And they're like, well, we'll send you to this new program we got, which they really hadn't finished setting up or like had made clear how you could apply or what the details were.
Right. They didn't even have that done before they made, that would have been step one, dude, is make that program ready to go with everything figured out over there and then announce this. This has got to be up there. Maybe the top 3 along with OpenAI and Red Hat. But yeah, what a mess that was.
I kind of broadly remember that Ubuntu Cinnamon, a flavor, was announced. And I gotta say, I haven't heard anything since. Did anyone try it in the last few months or give this a go? I
remember I gave it a quick glance when it became official flavor status. Cinnamon is another great desktop. I have given Cinnamon a recent go. So I think I'm not probably the target audience for Ubuntu Cinnamon, but I do think it's interesting to see it integrated as a new flavor. We also got ourselves some GNOME 44, which was nice to see that, along with Plasma 527, We got GNOME 44. We got an Ubuntu Cinnamon flavor. The first half of the year was really nice for desktop Linux, I think. And then as we move into April, we get Plasma 6 early builds. We start to get Linux kernel releases with more and more Apple component support, including M2 component support. And we start getting more and more Btrfs improvements throughout the year landing around this point. Thanks to patches from an engineer at SUSE and other places, we start seeing a lot of that land.
Yeah, we also got 2 big distro releases in April, right? It's Fedora Linux 38 and Ubuntu 2304.
Yeah. Yeah, those are big ones. We also discovered that Red Hat would be cutting hundreds of jobs. And we're still processing that one as well.
A little more positive side with Linux kernel 6.3 dropped. It also shipped a bunch of those Btrfs fixes, Steam Deck fixes, better enablement, big TCP support for IPv4. Yeah, a good kernel.
New Flathub website hit us too in that month.
Oh,
and
yeah.
How's it feeling now? Since, it just...
Yeah, right. That's when they promoted the beta they
It feels
had.
so smooth.
Yeah, I've totally gotten used to it now. I forgot about the old FlatHub UI entirely. I'll tell you one thing I miss from the old FlatHub UI is they had the install and run commands exposed right here, which I realize is very nerdy. But now I got to do like the stupid drop down thing.
I was just noticing that myself. Yeah.
It's such a small thing, but I miss it.
I just use the command line, okay?
I know, me too. And it's just so much easier there. But overall, I thought this was a real nice redesign of the FlatHub website. I think it just took it to the next level. I thought really they did a great job.
On the drop down of the FlatHub website, I somehow always copy the wrong command. Like when I want to install, I copy run. When I want to run, I copy install. For some reason.
I agree, Kenji, and it's because the commands look so much the same, I think, and it was just easier when they were just on the page. Even if they just tucked them down below, that'd be fine. I could scroll.
Yeah.
I could scroll. Now, in May, we had Red Hat's HDR Hackfest wrap-up, where they started collaborating with System 76, AMD, Collabra, Canonical, NVIDIA, Intel, Google, and others.
Yeah, I think earlier in that year we'd seen, some good updates from Valve. KDE started sort of signaling they were interested in getting HDR to work better.
Also in May, we start seeing Bcachefs potentially getting, that kernel tease. It goes out for review. Now, that was, in May, I'm getting real close. Let's give it a real good look. And remember, I think Linus had a very kind of harsh response to this initial.
Yeah, right. It hadn't gone into Linux Next yet. And I think this is kind of one of the first.
And he's like, you're going outside the process. Linus wasn't happy with that. Yeah.
That was a big hoopla.
It's obviously
there
a
for
huge
second.
year for Bcachefs, but it kind of starts a little rocky. And, it's a little dance to get where it ends up.
It was indeed. The Red Hat hits continue in May as well. The Red Hat hits continue in May as well. The Fedora program manager gets laid off, which that still stings. It's all part of the Red Hat cuts. But where Red Hat taketh, they giveth, and we get Podman Desktop 1.0.
Yeah. Hey, perhaps even more important in light of what we were just talking about with Docker.
Yeah. And in fact, later on, we got 1.5. It was a really good year for Podman Desktop. It continued. And then here's one last one for May. Other than, I thought it was noteworthy that Codeweavers, which has been a rock in the wine community, went into an employee ownership trust. Thought that was interesting and noteworthy this year. Also, we saw the rename of CBL Mariner, Microsoft's Linux distro, into, quote, Azure Linux. Got a rename and a new release.
Hopefully that means it's around for a while.
Man, I hope.
In June, we saw Plasma 6 just declare that it was going to be Wayland only. So no X11 for Plasma 6.
Yeah. We saw this confirmed later in the year, too, as well. But it became almost conclusive when Fedora said, with both the Fedora KDE spin and the Keynote spin, we're just doing Wayland. And when that gauntlet was thrown down, you knew that was probably going to be the way it is everywhere else. And then the KDE developers kind of made the decision.
Yeah, wasn't it around this time, too, that we kind of got, people became more aware that there were plans for RHEL 9 to Mark Xorg server is deprecated. I think we also got some news that Red Hat was going to stop shipping LibreOffice in future RHEL releases, limiting Fedora's involvement there.
Yeah, and basically the answer there was use a Flatpak. And so when you do the math, when you look at their deprecating X11, they're removing packaging, LibreOffice. It's like this is the direction they're going is a Wayland Flatpak future.
Well, speaking of those kind of packaged apps, this was also around the time that we got some first inklings about Ubuntu Core as an immutable Linux desktop base with some blog posts over by Canonical. That's been fun to follow. You know, a whole, taking the Ubuntu Core, the Snap managed system, and making that work all the way up to the desktop level is a fun engineering challenge, I think.
Well, and not only that, Wes, but I felt like this was when we kind of started to get a little inkling that Canonical seems like they're getting excited about the desktop again.
Yeah, right.
And it was like, oh, they got like a real serious desktop initiative.
We've got new installer. We've got shiny desktop things.
Got this Steam Snap thing they're doing.
Right.
You combine this, and they also, in there, they talked a lot about the value of the desktop and trying to nail that just right. So that to me, and again, this is June, it was really like this moment. It was sort of the middle of the year where you're like, oh, here we go. Here we go. And you combine that with the 2 Ubuntu summits as well. They're getting really serious about this, and it's really good to see it. And while we're talking about Ubuntu, it's probably worth mentioning that in June, Debian 12 Bookworm was also released, which was a big update. 11,000 new packages for a total count of 64,419 packages. Whoa. 43 of which were updated just for that release.
Really a lot of underpinnings over there in the old Debian project. Keeping a lot of the ecosystem alive.
Yeah. Let's do a little bump right there, actually. Let's do a little ad break right there. Let's do a little ad break right there. Linode.com/unplugged. I mean, you know the drill.
Simple enough. Well, lastly, in June, we also saw some Red Hat news. And I think this kind of started to hit hard. We had some major changes.
Oh, right. This was the change to the source code deal. This was like where they changed the deal that the downstream clones were using to actually produce their end result. And the source RPMs went away. And then we saw the reaction by Rocky Linux and Alma Linux. We really saw the two projects kind of show who they were.
Yeah, right. Having to figure out, okay, what's our plan? Are we going to keep this sort of ABI bug-for-bug compatibility, or are we going to become our own thing? What's the future of these projects?
And since this might be my last chance to get on this soapbox, if you gentlemen will allow me to get my box out here.
Okay. This premium soap.
Yeah. I think it's remarkable that the public and user base of Rocky Linux have allowed the Rocky Linux folks, in my opinion, to get by this long without implicitly defining and outlining how they're building their open source distribution, right? This is supposed to be a free and open source distribution that they are running on critical enterprise infrastructure, and they don't even know how it's being built. They don't even know how it's being sourced. I cannot believe this is being allowed in everyday enterprise environments. This is potentially, who knows, a massive vector for a hostile actor to get involved in the creation of an enterprise software platform, and y'all are just installing it with no idea how it's being built, completely forfeiting one of the absolute benefits of free and open source software, and nobody's saying anything about it, and they're just going on like it's regular old business. And I cannot believe it. And everybody's cool with it. And they'll just buy up some contracts. Who cares how it's built? Who cares, right? Who cares? I guess we don't really care about free software. We don't actually care about being able to see the code. We don't actually care about that stuff. We just want to make sure our crappy old expensive enterprise software works. And that's what's really revealing about the Rocky situation, I think.
Yeah, that was such a big story that it sort of just spilled right on over into July. We saw a bit of Rocky kind of talking about how some of their options that they were going to pursue, but then they definitely left it vague as to, if once those dried up, where would they be going? We also saw Canonical make some moves with the LexD project, sort of taking that in-house, changing how the development works a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
That's been a story that's sort of continued to play out. I think there's now a fork of LexD that's being continued by one of the original authors.
Mm-hmm. Is Is it under a CLA now too as well?
Yeah, I believe so, right?
Yeah, that sounds right. In August, we saw the official announcement of Fedora Asahi Remix and Fedora becoming the flagship distro for the Asahi.
You can do it. I believe in you.
And Fedora becoming the official flagship distro for Asahi Linux, which is great. Kind of a nice meeting of the minds there with something that's being developed very fast and something that's very leading edge, kind of coming together, but still providing maybe a little bit more consistent base to target than, say, a rolling distro does. We also got our first conformant M1 GPU driver. We got some working OpenGL ES 3.1 on Linux on the M1 hardware. The M1 hardware, I think, became daily drivable in August of this year. It's not 100% issues sometimes with Wi-Fi. I don't have speakers still. I don't have a webcam. And I don't have a working microphone that's built in. But Sleep is working. The desktop feels absolutely performant and accelerated. Applications launch just fine. I don't really hear the fans kick up. The battery life is perfectly acceptable. So in a lot of ways, it's really quite drivable. The Wi-Fi generally does work. And it's at this point, it feels better than, say, it did when I ran Linux on a PowerPC Mac or an Intel Mac. Like they've basically, I think, crossed the threshold of getting to better support than the Intel Macs did for almost everything. So that's incredible, and I think that really landed in August, which is great to see. And it's just only gotten better as the year has gone on.
Yeah, I'm not too sure which one to grab here. I'm not that familiar with them, so you guys should take it.
What about that Ubuntu one there, like another charting the course for the future? We could continue that discussion. There's also the LEAP replacement discussion.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, right.
Where's that gone? That's one I need to follow a little closer myself.
Well, in September, we also got a nice little blog post from the Ubuntu desktop, just continuing that discussion about the desktop and how important it is, charting a course for the new future, as they say. But right on the heels of that, I remember that LEAP replacement discussion in the OpenSUSE community. Do you remember this one and just the confusion that seemed to follow?
I felt like this just happened, and it came out of nowhere because I don't closely follow this community.
Yeah, it was a post over on the OpenSUSE mailing list from Richard Brown, sort of trying to figure out what should replace LEAP. And at this time, there were two very different distribution sort of proposals. One would be like a regular old-fashioned release desktop distribution, and then a different one would be a derivative of Tumbleweed built automatically as much as possible.
I have an honest question. Did anybody consider just not replacing it? Like just, use Tumbleweed, and if there's not a customer base for LEAP, let it be. Focus more on Tumbleweed, focus more on desktop integration, focus more on the build service. I don't know, take that time and enjoy an afternoon off. But maybe we don't need LEAP. I mean, maybe we don't. I really don't know. I'm not a daily SUSE user, but I'd be curious to know what people think about that. Maybe it's fine not to have another distro. And we just imagine if more people were willing to sunset their distros. You could help everybody out, perhaps, by having one less distro. Just my feeling about it. Linux market share on Steam got higher than Mac OS in September as well. And the Nextcloud Hub 6 launched, which really brought in a bunch of AI features and stuff like that. That was, well, I mean, Nextcloud has had a crazy year. Brent started working over at Nextcloud this year. That's been pretty wild. He's in Berlin right now because they're doing another release.
That's true. Yeah, I have had a lot of fun, guys. I mean, I showed up, here in Berlin for the first time. What, Kenji, was it March, I think?
Was it the first time this year?
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow, yeah.
I think now I've been here like 4 or 5 times since. But joining the Nextcloud team, yeah, was for sure a highlight for my year. And this particular release, Sub 6, was one that I was quite involved in. And man, the team, just with the local AI assistant that was released, was really, really fun to see, like the inner workings of a team like this and how it all happens in the background, and very, very exciting. I hope you guys are excited as I am, and I hope my excitement translates as well.
We've been you can tell we're excited because we're finally keeping up to date. We're finally keeping our Nextcloud instance up to date.
Got some homework after this show.
Yeah.
Well, we just got a new one, so make sure to update.
October.
Hard time to be an x86 user, you know? Because not only did we get news Intel was killing off its NUC line of adorable little mini PCs.
Yeah.
But the Raspberry Pi 5 dropped.
Yeah, with its new, much faster CPU and GPU. So fast, Wes, we don't need hardware accelerated video decoding.
The CPU's got it. The CPU's got it, bro.
It's got it.
But, I think, people were excited about the 5. It was maybe finally in a power level that it could be more of a desktop replacement, more of a challenger for traditional x86 roles.
Yeah. It also has the distinction, I think, of the first Pi release that none of us have bought.
I was going to ask you, Chris.
Release. Yeah.
I was going to ask you, Chris, that was a few months ago that you said you weren't really excited about it. I wondered if things have changed in the last 2 months.
The 1 liter PCs have gotten only cheaper. I mean, during Black Friday, I saw full 1 liter i5, maybe 8 gigs of RAM, so maybe you could have used a RAM upgrade, but you could have made it work.
That's easy enough.
I mean, when you're talking a Pi, you're talking 4 or 8 gigs, right? Yeah. $90. Now, that's more technically than a Raspberry Pi, but when you add a case, a power supply, and all those kinds of accessories, well, then an x86 PC that has a greater range of compatibility, already comes in a case, has more ports and I/O. It's just a no-brainer. And then, or like something like the Odroid, if you're willing to spend a little bit more, you get something even more modern, uses less power.
I like the idea you're being a little snob about computer doesn't come in a case.
Hey, no, I really have no problem with it, but it is nice. Because the problem is if it doesn't come in a case, guess who's not putting it in a case? This guy. And it's just going in production without a case. And that's the truth. Unfortunately, I have a lot of things in production. Now they're in a booth attached to the wall. But
it's just like a big case.
Yeah, it's a big booth case, right? I am very happy, though, they actually are finally getting to it. They seem to have the supply issue mostly resolved. People are getting their Raspberry Pi 5s. That's happening, of course. So that's good to see. We had the new Ubuntu, of course, 23.10, which we've mentioned. Linux Mint announces they're beginning to work on Wayland support.
That was pretty exciting. I'm not using Mint a bunch, but I value that it's part of the distro ecosystem.
You know what's funny, Wes, is, and I wonder if, Brent, if you have this sensation too, is it felt like it took forever to find out what XFCE or Linux Mint were going to do about Wayland. But now here we are in December looking back at it in a compressed form. It feels like it's all coming together around the same time.
Yeah, I'm really glad they made that decision. It feels like everybody's headed in the same direction, so there will be some cohesion in the world of Linux desktop, which feels just right for the end of the year.
Yeah, there was one version of the future where, obviously, GNOME, it's so hard to say that. GNOME and KDE continue, right? But did we have this sort of die-off of the X generation and then maybe a springing up of the replacements in the Wayland?
Still will.
Yeah, right.
We still will.
Maybe it's a bit less.
But yeah, it's like who's in that X graveyard,
right?
Versus the bright Wayland future.
I'm curious. Maybe this should be the start of one of my predictions. But I'm curious if we're going to get X-specific distros that just try to keep it along for as long as possible.
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
you get like X-Mint,
and you really combine it. I mean, this is clearly the path forward for Dev 1. You combine it without system D. So you get an X11 system with no system D and, some old package manager, no doubt. And you're happy. You're happy as a clam and you're running your XFCE or whatever it is for another 20 years.
Can you use the Slackware quote unquote package manager on other distros?
Somebody should say Nix for this point. Just also worth mentioning that the XFCE. Also, it's just worth mentioning that the XFS file system had their main maintainer step down and had a new maintainer step up who then begun just working like crazy on improving online repair. But put out the word, and I don't know how much they got in terms of response, but put the word out and said, the previous maintainer was doing 5 jobs. And I only want to do 1 job, so I'd love to have somebody help me do community management, have somebody do all these different things. And I don't know if they've got a lot of bites on that offer.
Something we should follow up on.
Yeah. It's been a wild year for XFS. Improvements, regressions, bugs, more improvements. I went through this looking at how ButterFS, Extended 4, ZFS, and XFS did. Rough year for all of them. No file system comes out looking like a champ this year.
2023, mind your backups.
Now, in my opinion, ButterFS and ZFS did all right. Extended 4 almost made it. But then we just found a bug, and it's a data loss bug. And XFS had a data corruption bug. ZFS had a data corruption bug. ButterFS had a massive performance regression. I don't know if any data loss was a result of it, but they're kind of like 98% fixed. They haven't even fully fixed the performance regression, so they get docked. You know, it wasn't a great year for our file systems. So hopefully 2024 goes a lot smoother. Hopefully we get Bcachefs.
I was going to say, does that make Bcachefs look even better or what?
Well, it's going to be a rough start. You know, I mean, it's new.
I'm excited. I'm definitely playing more with it in 2024.
Oh, yeah. In November, we had Element announce they're going AGPL, also doing a CLA.
Yeah, just like LexD relicensed the AGPL with a CLA.
And I don't know, man. I'm just really uncomfortable with what's going on with the Synapse server. I'm uncomfortable with what's going on with all of this right now. The more I hear about it.
It's a lot happening behind the scenes,
Yeah,
it seems.
It sounds like they're shutting down some of their hosting EMS services over there, too, and kicking some customers out. Not looking good. And it would be a genuine loss if we lost this space, because like the other alternatives here, like Slack and Discord and maybe Mattermost, but it's really Discord, and that is bad, man. We don't want all these free software projects on a centralized commercial chat platform that's all locked behind an Electron app that lives and dies at the behest of some corporation that's more interested in, you know,
really
brand-friendly
like
gaming.
We've built something kind of special with our Matrix community right now.
Then, you know, we'll see where it goes. We'll see where it goes. Fedora had to also delay their new installer. They were going to roll out a new installer.
I'm still excited for it. It's a web installer. I mean, that's going to be pretty handy. But no, we didn't quite get it with Fedora 39. But soon. That'll do. And you know, we got Fedora Workstation 39. I'm not complaining.
GNOME 45 also came out, which didn't get me that excited. But Chris, I remember you got super excited about this one.
I love all these big updates we've been getting from the desktop environments these days. It's really getting to the point now where it's all just frosting. But there was one little thing that I still, even to this day, love, is they changed the activities indicator. It is both brilliant and simple at the same time. It's just this little pill animation that moves around that indicates what desktop your environment on, and it's a button you can click. It's such a small thing, but it's so smooth and well done. And it takes care of something that I used to always install an extension on, which was to tell me what desktop I was on. I never really, could keep track of it. And with this release, I feel like the quick features, the little quick settings they have up in the corner, finally came into its own, and the extensions that I do have installed now support it. So things like caffeine to keep my screen awake now show up in the quick settings menu, which is just absolutely great. They've just refined the UI too. Things like the Files app is just looking so good now. I just am really, really impressed. It's remarkable that I just can almost run stock GNOME with the stock theme. I used to have to change all that stuff.
I guess that's my question for your end of year, Chris. How many plugins do you have left? Are they like ticking them off? It seems lots of those got ticked off this year for you.
Yeah, a lot of them are optional now. I'm probably still running with six or seven plugins, but a couple of them I could probably just turn off.
I remember when it used to be a dozen for you.
Oh, yeah, or 15, man.
Right.
There was a time, dude. There was a time. There was definitely a time when it was that many. Yeah, it's really nice to see.
Are you still running the app indicator plugin?
No longer. Because a lot of that stuff now is in quick settings.
Yeah.
So that's been nice to see. Yeah. You know what else we got? Pipewire 1.0. Right at the end of November. We got the official 1.0 release. Wim joined us on the show to talk about it. That was a big day for us because we also announced NixCon North America, which is the first. And it's the Pipewire 1.0 is the El Presidente release. And you get some Bluetooth codec improvements, but the big thing here was getting that performance compatibility with real-time jack for pro application use. That was the big deal for Pipewire. And it was just such a smooth upgrade.
You know, I gotta say, I still remember when we interviewed, Wim for just when Pipewire was starting to become the default. And it just, from a user's perspective, has felt so smooth. And the number of problems has been minimal, really, in my experience, which is, that's saying something. So just a huge kudos to the Pipewire project and everyone working there. It's been amazing.
Thank goodness, out of the areas that Red Hat has had to pull back, they did not pull back in Pipewire.
Yeah, amen.
Woof. Oh, let's go to Collide. So Collide, save you some time, save you some grief, maybe keep you in IT, prevent problems before they connect, and help users resolve those issues on their own without having to create an IT ticket, and get one central dashboard to manage Windows, Linux, and Mac. Support the show and check it out at collide.com/unplugged, KOLIDE.com/unplugged. Do we have anything for the feedback segment? Anything else for the feedback? Well, we could probably just, I think what we should say is, Brent, maybe you could say this.
Yep.
That we'll be banking the feedback for the next couple of episodes.
Sure.
And also, maybe as you start, mention, so there's a lot more stories that we didn't get into, but we will have links in the show notes for stories that we also thought were noteworthy but didn't have time to talk about on air.
Now, many, many stories happened this year, and we, thanks to Chris's sleuthing, have all of those in the show notes. So if you want to dive in a little deeper, please click around, have some fun. And for feedback this week, we're actually going to keep those in the bag. We've got a few pre-records coming up. We're going to save some of your great feedback for those episodes, so thanks for sending it in. But as usual, we do have some boosts.
And now it is time for Le Boost.
Look at Mixip coming in once again in the baller slot with 50,000 sats. Hello, sir.
Oh.
No message, just boosting. Love you all. That's technically a message.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, see, unlike an anonymous fountain user who sent us 5,100 sats, but actually a totally empty message. Don't worry, though. Gene Bean came in with a row of ducks.
Hey-oh, we got ourselves our first row of ducks.
There was that one time I removed all persistent volumes from our prod K8's cluster, as that resource type isn't namespaced. Fortunately, they won't actually delete until they're not in use. We had to go find each underlying disk in GKE, snapshot it, clone the snapshot, then do some other black magic I've since forgotten to let the original actually delete, and then replace it with the snapshot. It was gut-wrenching.
Oh,
God.
Thanks for sharing, Bean. Woof.
I am so sorry to hear that. Your pain is our mild entertainment, but mostly self-suffering. I have definitely felt that pain before. Appreciate the boost, Gene. Hey, while we're talking about rows of ducks, did you know just 20 minutes ago, the Dude Abides just sent in a row of ducks?
I missed that.
Yep. Live boost while we are on the air. Thank you, the dude. Appreciate that.
Now, Greeno boosted in with a total of 16,065 sats. But that very first one is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Satoshi boost.
Oh, good catch, Brentley.
So the combination is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the stupidest combination I ever heard in my life.
They say, I gotta love those Spaceballs clips. Hello again, my favorite Linux aficionados. I've been meaning to send in this tip for a while, and hearing Chris mention Giraffine OS and tracking a few episodes back reminded me. I've jumped on the non-stock Android bandwagon a few years ago and sorely missed the Google location sharing my wife and I made great use of.
Mm-hmm.
Long story pretty short, this Own Tracks guide got me up and running, and we've been happy using it ever since. It's a little loose around the edges, no way to force the location update for other parties, but it does allow us to see where each other is when needed, and even has an old device in the car with this running as a cheap tracker. I can neither confirm nor deny that I am the author of said guide after many months of headache getting it working. Anyways, thought Chris might want to put it through its paces until something more turnkey comes along.
OwnTracks is a really solid recommendation. I like this one. We used OwnTracks a couple of years back when we did a road trip to Denver.
Yeah.
The Linode on the road trip. And we had an embedded live tracker of Lady Jupes. And that was done by OwnTracks. And I brought a Pyzel 3 with me.
That's right.
That ran that, connected to a Linode, that updated our location in real time. And then we would embed it on the website.
It worked pretty well.
It does work pretty well. And if you're looking for like a Find My replacement or a Google location kind of replacement thing, that's definitely something to consider. I will say, if you don't really have the energy to do it and you already have Home Assistant, in the companion settings on the Home Assistant app, you can turn up the precision of location and update frequency. It'll use a little more battery life, but you're also not installing a particular dedicated tracking app. And the Home Assistant dashboard, you can embed a map of entity's live location. And so you could create a location dashboard in Home Assistant. It's not as good as OwnTracks, because OwnTracks, you have parameters in there where you can be like, when the motion sensor, like whatever in the phone, an accelerometer or whatever it might be, detects a certain amount of movement, start updating, right? That's not how Home Assistant's going to be. More like major movement events. So sometimes it'll be a few minutes before it's updated. But it's generally like if you're okay getting the general idea where they're at, Home Assistant could do that for you.
One of those trade-offs where do you need the dedicated tool with all the options, or can you get by with a sort of generic functionality?
Now that Greeno did send in a second boost, 3,720 sats. Hey, me again. I came across the Han Solo Never Tell Me the Odds clip from Empire Strikes Back and thought I could make another nice boost clip for 3720 sats. Wish I'd remembered it before the 32-bit challenge started, as it would make a nice challenge theme boost. Or our Star Wars clip banned among Star Trek circles?
No, I mean I think we're all Star Wars friendly, right? We're a Star Wars friendly group.
Oh yeah,
I feel like yeah. All right.
All nerdery is welcome here.
Yeah, definitely.
What are you doing? You're not actually going into an asteroid field.
They'd be crazy to follow us, wouldn't they?
Sir, the possibility of successfully navigating an asteroid field is approximately 3,720 to 1.
Never tell me the odds.
There you go. Never tell me the odds.
Well, and he finishes up with here's to you guys getting to scale with Bank to Spare.
Hey-oh, I hope so. Wouldn't that be great if we could do some sat steaks again?
Yeah, those were tasty.
Can we do some like sat sushi or something?
Oh, yeah, we could totally do something different. We could do some sat fish. We could do some sat veg.
Salami.
We got to get the good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, come on. User 89 came in with a Spaceballs boost, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sats.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yes.
That's amazing. I've got the same combination on my luggage.
This is hi from Dublin, Ireland. A small contribution for the scale trip. I just tried Nix for the first time. Well, I love the idea of it. Well, what does that mean? Does that mean it didn't go well, but you like the idea of it? Or does that mean
Tell us more.
I mean, maybe it means, they've just sort of installed it, read through some of the, the guide.
Yeah, and they're like, okay, I like it.
Yeah, but probably not, it's not battle tested.
It could mean that. It's sort of like, we went out to dinner, we saw a movie, we went back to my place, yada, yada, they went home. Okay, well, what's the yada yada part? He left out the yada yada part, the most important parts. Just saying, user.
We're requesting a follow-up.
Yeah.
Now I'm curious, Kenji, what would you suggest for someone who's just like, it sounds like dipped their toe and kind of likes it? Where do you go next?
Yeah, this is the hardest part. You really want to kind of just decide on something, but you just need to do something. This is the problem, because you can do so much. So you kind of try to, whatever interests you, for example, if it's the Nix package manager itself, try to figure out which component it actually is. So it's not Nix packages, it's like the repo, or NixOS, the distribution, it's the package manager itself. So visualize which component in the whole stack you're actually looking at, and try to start, I would say, with the official documentation, with the manual. Not read through it, but get an overview to just see what's available to get a map of the space. And then maybe you know when you know what you want to do, you know where to look and what the terminology is, because the terminology is different from most things.
I love that. I mean, especially when you're like, if you start with something like NixOS, you update a couple lines in your config and you run a command and all this stuff happens. It can be pretty daunting to figure out, like, okay, what are all the pieces behind the scenes that are actually making this magic happen?
Yeah, for sure.
Wolfman 2G1 boosts in with 15,000 sats.
Wolfman, huh? I wonder if picturing a big beard. Big beard.
A little holiday bonus boost. I've been hearing Chris talk about using IPFS for distribution. What about good old Varnish? An Nginx box that points to your object storage for origin and a Varnish box or two strategically placed on the nodes that serve as your CDN. You would get a very high cache hit rate since a given asset only changes once a week. You can have the same FQDN and use GeoIP from a DNS provider to route to the closest cache. BGP Anycast would be better, but that adds complexity. I like the way Wolfman thinks. Some fun ideas.
So, now, in this setup, this is an interesting setup, right? Because the idea I think that Wolfman is trying to get at is reduce the amount of transfer from the object storage, which is where the cost is going to get you, right? Is if every download originated from the object storage, that actually add up pretty quickly. But you still end up paying at the Varnish side, like wherever that Varnish CDN sits, you still end up
having to pay for the bandwidth there.
Yeah,
kind of has to figure out where your costs are and which providers and which rates.
Right. I've kind of cooled a bit on the IPFS podcasting to a degree. I'm actually still very, very excited about what they're working on. We just released a brand new Office Hours, a banger, by the way, the last one of the year, if you want to check it out, officehours.hair. And that, when you download it, is distributed via IPFS. Even if your client doesn't talk IPFS, it's distributed via IPFS. It's very cool. Every now and then, though, and why I'm waiting to see where it goes is sometimes there can be a delay before the play starts. It is going through a single redirect at the moment. That could, that could go out, that kind of stuff. So something like this, I think, would be a little more robust. What Wolfman is suggesting than where IPFS podcasting is today.
Yeah, and I think this is a nice option too if you want to really keep everything in house.
Yes.
IPFS is great, but you're also sort of ceding control over to the decentralized community.
The flip side of that is, anything that's seeded from the IPFS network, you don't pay a dime for. And so when you think about distribution for a podcast, you really pay more the more successful your podcast is. So to have a solution that kind of addresses that it's interesting, I think, to watch and see where it goes.
Well, especially in, as you mentioned, like the space of just folks getting started, right? It's one thing when you're a big established podcast, you really care about that like
performance and
how quickly does your MP3 start when you hit play and all that. But if you're just, trying to get started in the thing, this could be a great option.
Right.
Golden Dragon boosted in 10,000 sats.
Oh, hey, Dragon.
Boost! Hey, here's the value back for the sticker orders that we received. Our small business got 3 orders with about 100 to 200 glances at our 2 shops. So thank you, JB, and there will be more stickers to come. Of course, folks can always boost into the show or hit up the Golden Dragon on Matrix with new sticker ideas.
Hey. Well, congrats, Dragon. Maybe next time around we'll get more than a couple of sales there, but thanks for kicking us back a little bit. Still appreciate that.
I didn't get any stickers. I should still order.
I know.
Can I still order some?
That's the thing, is we didn't time it right. Because it takes a couple of weeks for you think to go do the order. So maybe some other time in the future. I love stickers, though.
Heck yeah.
And it'd be great to have some stickers to put on this 32-bit laptop.
When I saw Brand's framework, I immediately had to ask him what kind of sticker he put on his framework.
Yeah, there's this, and it makes me smile every single time I go to open my laptop there, Golden Dragon. There's this, could you call it custom, limited order, very specifically made for us JB crew who are at Linux Fest Northwest. The Dragon made a sticker that's, a Rove Ducks, of course, right beside like a JB rocket. And I slapped that thing on my framework at the JB studio during Linux Fest Northwest, where we got to meet the Golden Dragon, which was a really special time. So every single time I peel this laptop open, I have a look at that sticker, and it makes me smile. So thanks, Golden Dragon.
I have one of his right here in the studio. It says, "Does your podcast have a mascot?" And it's so good. If you've got an idea for a Linux Unplugged sticker, you can reach out to the Golden Dragon. He is in the Matrix chat room, and he's often in the Mumble room, and you can always boost in your suggestion as well. He's always listening. All right. Well, Dark Eye Elite comes in also with another Spaceballs boost.
We're going to have to go right to ludicrous speed.
I think it's true. He says, it's amazing. I got the same combination on my SSH keys. Yes, dude.
Great.
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yes.
That's amazing. I've got the same combination on my luggage.
Well, Kieran Bug boosts in with one more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
1 million space bucks. A million?
Just with the simple message, scale, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Karen, and thank you very much, Dark Ire. We are stacking them sats for scale. The future of 2024 feels very uncertain, but having sort of like this sort of almost guaranteed event starting to solidify, we're not there yet, but almost guaranteed event to solidify is like this goalpost in which I know if we can survive, we can make it to something that we've funded and is going to happen. And when everything else is looking like it's up in the air, that feels really great. Very much appreciate that. Thank you, everybody who boosts in. We do have some more boosts that came in under the 2,000 limit cutoff, but we do read all of them. Yes. Oh, we had the Make Good, though. We had the Make Good from VT. We had the Elite Sets Make Good, which I wanted to cover because of the Podverse rates condition.
Oh, yes.
He says, is this thing on? I just got the new Podverse from F-Droid, so fingers crossed. Dark Helmet's IT department just told me that my 12345 password was too weak and made me change it. I'm surrounded by jerks. Well, what you do is you change it to 12345 Spaceballs, right? And with an exclamation mark.
Yeah.
And you're fine.
Super secure.
Super secure. No one will ever think of that one. VT, thank you for the boost. We had 13 total boosters come in this week with 15 boosts across those. And we stacked 139,177 sats. Not our biggest week ever, but it is the holidays after all. However, this week, Wes Payne managed to pull in the actual totals for stream sats. All of you streamers that we always say we see you out there, and we always see them coming in our dashboard. And it'll be a few sats at a time. We're always like, oh, that's so cool to see somebody listening. But Wes Payne, you totaled up the sats that were streamed into the show this week.
45,626 cents.
That is really, really fantastic. And
we had 7 streamers who sent us over 2K sats, too. Active Shadow, Gene Beans in the streams as well. Mofata, Iced Vovo, Davrilin's there, Cospeland, our buddy, and Taco Strange. So thanks to everyone who streamed us some sats.
Active Shadow, look at you going. You have been cranking through the shows. 113 streams. Man, you are the all-star streamer, and Gene Bean, you rock up there too. Mofata at 92 streams. Wow. You know what you all get? We had a brand new boost soundboard clip that was submitted into the show. Did you guys see this?
Oh yeah, right at the last minute.
Yeah, we have a brand new boost. You have to send in the Sega amount, which is 19,571. And there's a whole math around it. So if you want to get a Sega boost, 19,571, and you too can get the Sega boost. Thank you, everybody who takes the time to figure out how to do the boosts. I know it's a hill. We really appreciate it. And thank you, everybody who takes the time to actually write a little message and send it in or send us some value. This is a value for value production, and we're really leaning into this because the more I watch the landscape evolve, the more it's my personal conviction that podcasting is a very unique and important media in comparison to everything else. It is a group of distributed shows over RSS, totally decentralized. And the few things that we're centralizing it, we're advertising and distribution platforms. And with value for value and with Boost, there's no middleman, there's no company involved. We are taking that last piece and decentralizing that as well. And when you look at the mainstream media, when you look at what YouTube does to creators with their stupid thumbnails and the little games they have to play for algorithms, and the same thing happens on the other sides, on the other platforms like Rumble, and you look at the way people behave on social media for engagement, these are all incentives brought to them by the platforms they're using. And in order to succeed on those platforms, you have to adopt those incentives and use them correctly. And the people that succeed at this, like Mr. Beast, become the top of the platform, and the people who fight it they suffer with a couple of hundred views. And we all know people out there that have been grinding away for decades with a couple of hundred views on YouTube because they don't play those games. Well, they might have their moral standards, but they don't have anything else. And podcasting is a truly decentralized system with no middleman, no curator, no AI that's labeling content, and no algorithm that's trying to juice what you see to get your blood pressure up. And I think one of the ways we keep it that way is by enabling direct support by the audience, so that way the audience becomes the big customer. And if we can use a system that's free software-based, peer-to-peer, and has no middleman, then we have nobody that gets in there and starts gaining control and influencing the platform. And that means you're going to have some stinkers. But it also means you're going to have fantastic, unique, niche media. And last but not least, one of the things we're learning, more so than ever as we go into 2024, is that advertising is a very cyclical business. Podcasters didn't really realize it because for the last decade, we've had a pretty good market, especially for the last few years. And it just seemed like it was always going to go that way. It always seemed like there'd be advertising available. Advertisers are not interested in podcasts right now. I'm talking, obviously, in generalities. There are some, and we are very appreciative of those, that still get it. Those are the savvy businesses. But on a whole, the unsavvy media buyers, which unfortunately represents the vast majority, are not interested in podcasts anymore as a medium. Specifically, they're not interested in Linux podcasts. Trust me. I've been doing this for 18 years. I'm getting that answer over and over again. It's the unfortunate reality that advertising is a cyclical, economy-connected business. It dives before the economy and it recovers after the economy. And for podcasts to become something that is a very long-term medium, that is more than just a 20-year medium, but more like a 100-year medium like radio can be today, it has to find a model that is outside of, attached to that cyclical economic system, or else it ultimately will just become radio. It's like the way, it's just, if you look at it, that's just how it works out. You'll get dynamic ads on everything. You will be going to commercial breaks that honestly represent almost 30, 40% of the show. It just, that's the direction it goes. We're working to change that and pioneer a model that others can adopt. They can see something that works. They can see us experiment and test it, and then they can implement it in their own shows or for their own software projects. So when you contribute either through a membership at unpluggedcore.com or you boost into the show, you're contributing to something that's a lot larger than just the individual production. But we're trying to build out a model that'll be applicable and hopefully a guide for others to follow one day. And we're doing it with radical transparency, both in the amounts and in the splits. Everything is in the RSS feed. And we really, really appreciate everybody who contributes. As we go into the holidays, we'll be stacking your messages. The next 2 episodes will not have them, but then when we come back in the new year, we'll lean in hard and get right back into it. So please do continue to boost in. Send us your predictions along with the Sega boost. We also have a 2024 predictions boost, which is 2 balls in a 24, 88-24. Double crystal balls predictions for 2024, 88-24 sats with your 2024 predictions or holiday messages, or of course, your 32-bit challenge updates. We always like to see those as well. Now, gentlemen, what do you say we do a pick before we get out of here? And again, thank you everybody who did boost in. We appreciate you.
Oh, yes, please. I think you've got a good one this time around.
I was inspired by Brent's networking troubles that he had last week. This one is obviously going to be useful when I'm traveling as well. It's called Trippy, and it combines the functionality of traceroute and ping, and it's designed to kind of just assist you identify and track down weird networking problems. And as you know, it's got a GUI for the command line, I guess if you can call it that, an Encursa style GUI that I just always love.
Oh yeah, this is a slick looking app. You've got a little graph down here showing the samples. They've got like a frequency histogram in the bottom corner. Obviously you've got your regular sort of like trace route output where you've got the loss and the sent and the received and the ping times and latency on there. And a handy dandy header up top. I haven't even really played with this, but it's got keyboard shortcuts. Good set of them. It's got settings you can tweak. I think it's written in Rust and it's packaged in Nix.
How about that? Brent, did you get a chance to try this at all by any chance?
I gotta say, I took this week really easy this week and hung out at not my hotel. I hardly was at my place, even overnight I was hanging out with listeners.
Listen to this guy.
Missed trains.
Getting
it turns out the
fed.
train system doesn't run all night.
Getting
And
free
so
drink.
So I got to say, I happily spent little time on my laptop, but the name here is perfect, Trippy, because that's exactly how it felt on last episode of Linux Unplugged when Chris and I were trying to figure out what the heck was going on with my network. So I think I got homework here. I got to go home and try this.
It could be handy. It could be handy. It could come up.
You know, I'm seeing just pinging our awesome community website. We've got some packet lost on our way. Thanks, Comcast.
Oh, you know, I was having packet loss yesterday during a call. I was having some unfortunate packet loss. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's time to go reboot stuff. I actually just rebooted stuff recently. I finally have all the networking gear
Brent
on
hasn't,
EPSs.
Hasn't even
Been here.
visited lately.
I know. Well, what if it's like, you know, when he's here, he breaks stuff, and when he's gone for too long, he breaks stuff.
Ooh. Yeah, he better.
I leave some like delayed pixies that go to work when I'm gone for about 3 months. So
That sounds about right. I don't know exactly how that works, but we'll have a link to Trippy in the show notes. Those are we got a note saying we don't tell people where the show notes are at anymore. I actually do every episode, but I don't do it till the end. But they're at linuxunplugged.com/541. All the links there, or of course at jupiterbroadcasting.com.
Indeed.
And most podcast apps, but not all. It'll be right there in your podcast app. This is our last live show. So thank you, Mumble Room. Thank you, everybody watching live. It's always nice to do a show live because it gives us that special live energy. But we'll be now going into our holiday recording schedule where we'll have for you on our regular release, well, maybe even a little early, the Tuxies and our 2024 predictions, 2 annual powerhouses of the Unplugged program.
You don't want to miss them.
You don't.
We'll be talking about them the rest of the next year.
It's funny, you know, the Tuxies really always does very well. And I've been chatting with people all week long about the Tuxies. I'm getting very excited just because I can tell the audience is excited about it. That Matrix Room 2 at jupiterbroadcasting.com/matrix. Don't forget, we want to know how that 32-bit challenge is going for you. So you can always write in about the 32-bit challenge, or please do boost in, then we can share it with absolutely everybody.
we also just this week, for you keeners, put out a new episode of Office Hours. You can check that out, officehours.hair. And we got special guest Moritz Kaminsky of the Albi Project joining us. So if you want to learn more about value for value podcasting, I'd say jump right into that one.
Yeah, Albi is a very interesting company in this space, and Moritz is a very thoughtful individual. And it's always nice to just hang out with Brent a little bit more. That's in there, too. Yeah, and some network news, some goss, some hot goss, all that kind of stuff. Now, our next live show will be on January 7th, but like I said, if you subscribe, you'll just get our next couple of special holiday releases as they come out. But when we do come back, we'd love to have you in our Mumble Room. We have all those details at linuxunplugged.com and at jupiterbroadcasting.com. But it's really nice. It's like an extra little hangout sesh. You get a low latency Opus stream of the show. And of course, you can always contribute back in real time. And that's it, everybody. Thank you so much. We'll get out of your hair now, I guess. I feel like I don't want to leave. I don't like it being the last regular show.
Saying goodbye.
It's like it's both really nice and a relief. And at the same time, it's like, I really enjoy hanging out with you guys. I'm going to miss it.
Yeah, do meet us in the new year, won't you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It will be a mess if you don't show up. We'll just be a mess. All right. Thanks so much for hanging out with us on this technically Saturday on a Tuesday. And we'll be right back here next week. All right, I'll stop. Let's do it right there. Try to keep it tighter. Thank you, Drew. Appreciate you. All right, and you know what that means then? Now we must name it.
Oh, do we have
That's
to?
the hard part.
It's the Wild West of the Internet. A new podcast has been recorded, but it doesn't have a title. Get in that Matrix chat room. Your last chance to bang suggest right now. And then we vote. Well, Brantley, go ahead. You can
That
talk.
was so nice.
I know.
Yeah, but I just really enjoyed it.
I'm encouraging the people to go vote. You know, I feel like I notice if I play them a little music and lean into it, I get a little more response.
They get creative. I was just thinking I should probably report on how the meetup went this week.
Shit!
Dang, yeah.
We had ourselves a JB meetup, and
And you got to put that in the doc.
I know I totally forgot about it until this very moment.
All right, well, you can tell us in the members how it went.
Yeah. So, you know, it was the nicest thing. I mean, how many meetups have we had now? 5? More of those?
More than 5.
Uncountable.
No, at this point, no one's showing up, I assume.
No. Actually, you know what happens is that we threw up that meetup page, which is our usual go-to, and I think it got 5 RSVPs, myself included. And
Brent's gonna be there.
Well, that's actually really unusual for us, right? We usually get like 15, 20, 30, sometimes 40. Mm-hmm. And that's what the experience was like every other time that we did this. But this time there was such a chasm between who showed up, or sorry, who RSVP'd and who actually showed up. And I basically told everybody in our Berlin Buds chat, I said, you guys don't need to RSVP, you just always show up. So I know you're coming. So I guess from the ground here, I just got to say, like, we've got an awesome JB listener crew who shows up
in Berlin.
NixOS, meetups here in Berlin, and now it's just like old hat. It's a bunch of familiar faces, and I'm not even like people are beginning to not care that I'm there. It's just like we're all just hanging out, you know? Yeah. Because most of our meetups, they're like, oh my God, one of the hosts is here. This is so interesting. But this time around, I grabbed a chair like everybody else and just pulled up to the circle, and we had a great evening. So so it was awesome to have it at Seabase again. Kenji, thanks for helping organize that a little bit. And I mean, you taught us a bunch of things around NixOS, and everybody kept teaching each other things. It was a lot of fun. How was it for you?
Yeah, it was an enjoyable night. It was really good. It was kind of 50-50, like the Nix people and the Brent people. And the intermingling was awesome. Everybody talked about stuff they cared about, what they were doing, just sharing information in general. The atmosphere was great.
Sounds like a great time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But also just kind of what it usually is, which I think actually in this case is always really wonderful. So we'll have them again. I think I'm planning on being here. What is it? In April is a definite me being here, and I'm hoping that we can plan kind of a big deal.
That means
I'm putting
you're
that out there now.
So you're either not making it to Linux Fest or Texas Linux Fest. I call it now.
Hey man,
that's what that means.
As long as I have cat care, I think I can make it everywhere.
I will. All right. Well, should we put 1,000 sats on that?
Oh, okay.
You want to put 1,000 sats on that?
Yep.
All
Yep.
right.
Putting it down. Putting it down.
1,000
Throwing it
sats.
down. Oh, you're writing it in your book.
I am.
That's the sacred
1,000
book.
sats. Brent won't make it to Linux Fest or Texas. One of them. Linux
At
Fest
all or on
or
time?
West.
Oh, that's a good question.
Oh,
At all or on time, because I have a reputation,
Never on
right?
time.
You know, yeah, that's what'll happen. It'll either be he doesn't show or yeah, Texas. I'm going to put it down.
Okay,
I'll
so
go for
wait, does anyone else want to participate in this bet?
You want in on this action at all?
Yeah, I'll double down on the Chris.
2,000 sats for you if you make it there, Brent. All right, here we go.
I'll jump in
Anyone
with
else?
Chris too.
All right, 3,000 sats.
The odds are getting bad here.
But I'm going to.
Does anyone believe in me?
Another one on Chris's side.
All right. Here we go with Dragon. Wow, Brent, you're gonna make some. This is how you make this. I can make some money, Brent.
Heck yeah.
You can get
It's a long
4,000
game.
sats if you make it. Wow.
I mean, let's keep going. Anyone else?
Doesn't that mean he has to pay out though? That's a big counter bet for
yeah,
him.
true.
That's we should be careful, Brent. Careful.
Hey, your mistake is the cards are in my hand here.
Yeah,
I have control over the outcome.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that before. I tease. Here, I gotta find that Star Wars club, don't I?
Sir, the possibility.
Yeah, probably right there.
Sir, the possibility. Sir, the possibility.
Well, he sounds so whiny.
Yeah. Maybe
So-
just don't tell me the odds.
Right.
Oh yeah, maybe, huh?
That's good too.
Yeah, that could be better. Where's that?
Sir, the possibility of successfully navigating an asteroid field is approximately 3,720 to 1.
Never tell me the odds.
Oh, it cuts off. He doesn't say odds. I gotta find a better clip. That's what I gotta do. I gotta find a better clip.
Also, it's suitable for our bet here. I don't want to know the odds at the end of all this. If anybody else wants in, you're more than welcome. Chris will add it to the book.
Here, this is a 12-second. Let's see.
You don't have to do this to impress me.
Oh,
Never tell me
a
the
typical
odds.
can
That'll work.
just send something. Oh, okay.
Okay, that'll work. I got it. I gotta realize I gotta be careful. We're still on YouTube. I can't just be like playing whatever I want.
Right. Is it like Apple where you can play like, what is it, 3.5 seconds or 12
I think it's like
seconds
3
or something?
seconds. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what about all the betting?
Oh, that they're fine with.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They don't actually listen.
I have heard of people get in trouble for doing betting, but I think it's more like, they're like having the audience. I don't know exactly. But I have heard of that. Now I can't find it. I got way too many stuff in my downloads folder, dude. That's a sign you got. Like I got to resort just to get the thing I downloaded off of YouTube.
Who uses a downloads folder?
Well, where do you
seems like-
download? If you're going to download a video for 10 seconds to cut 3 seconds out of it,
Downloads
where
on
would you put it?
TempFS?
Yeah. I would get you on this one.
That's all right. All right. I can get behind that.
Where does Brent store his downloads?
I have it defaulting to asking me every single time where I want to put it, and for 90% of the time, that's exactly what I want.
You're a maniac.
Yeah, maniac with tabs. But there are often cases where you're just downloading something quickly and you're never going to look at it again. So yeah, got me a nice temp folder for that.
All right, it's time to vote. We've joshed around enough. I'm going to end the titles. You ready? All right, everybody. When you hear this music, it's time to vote.
Let's get serious.
Brent gets loaded.
What?
Because you're showing up on time.
All the bangers of the year. Last year's Linux. Haha, Wes. Neil Gates. Full-time.
That's the one.
Full-time private mode. If that was on the show, I wish we could have put that in the show. Going out with a bang. Biggest stories of 2023. 2023 recap edition. Your voting music has begun. We have 1 vote cast. 2 votes cast. That's not enough. Need more.
I'm a big fan of Kenji's vote there.
Where is it? What is it? Which one? Unplugging the ear. Yeah, the only tricky thing is then if you look at it in its totality, it's unplugging the ear Linux unplugged.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
So sometimes we avoid putting.
That's always a whole thing.
Yeah.
So then just title it Getting, or something like that,
Jeff.
like Getting Unplugged. So Getting
Jeff.
Linux Unplugged.
We really don't have any idea how it's displayed. Is the problem?
Well, we didn't know how a giraffe would be displayed either.
Hey, it only broke a few things.
How?
And we have a little animal collection now in our tags on the website. I like that.
Sure do.
Yeah, that's nice.
You're gonna need an arc pretty soon.
6 votes on one batch and 1 vote on the other. Nobody's voting on the top batch.
Say it ain't so.
Well, they're not.
It wasn't in the show, right?
Yeah.
Now, biggest stories of 2023's in there, spinning the stories of 2023.
They're just not good.
Mouth Kegels.
Oh god. Neil Gates is my favorite.
Yeah, mine too. It's
I know, but that wasn't in the show.
I know, but it's really great.
If we named the members version That would be. And then you could imagine Neil seeing that, being like, "What the fuck?"
I'd love to see his reaction.
You know, that's what he gets for not showing up this week.
Yeah,
Right?
We missed
Can't
it.
even defend himself.
Brent Satz.
I like Out with a Bang. It's maybe a bit too simple, but you know, it kind of says what it says.
I can go with that with a bang. I'll give that a vote. It's got 2 boats.
I mean, on my 32-bit, I'm gonna run Crunch Bang plus plus.
Oh,
So there's that.
Oh,
That's still around?
Heck yeah.
Oh, I thought it was Bunsen Labs now.
Oh, well, I don't know.
Well, I don't know either. Hey, is it cheating if I use a technically 64-bit Atom CPU?
What?
And put 32-bit on it? Because it came with the 32-bit Windows.
That's cheating.
Tell us more about the CPU and the system.
Yeah, because it's a whole system thing, really. Is what we're going for. So it depends on.
Lenovo Tab of some sort, and it's got a Bay Trail Atom, and I think 2 gigs of RAM, 2 or 4, I don't remember, but it came with 32-bit Windows 8. And it doesn't have sound in Linux. Like, it's a huge nightmare to put Linux on there. I've been thinking about this thing for years.
Well, now.
But I still think it'd be faster than the stupid older netbook
Who wants
I
Jeff
have.
to suffer?
Friends, is your computer a nightmare? It's probably perfect for our challenge.
Jeff, here you go into a territory because I have one too that is in fact 1 generation younger than the 32 bits ones. It has 64 bit instructions. It's the first dual core Intel thingy with 4 gigs of RAM. With that, I can live without any problem. No challenge for me. I have Ubuntu 23.10 running on it without any hassle. So it's a big difference.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I have a motherboard in my garage that's a socket 775, but I believe it's a Core 2 Duo in there, which I believe is also 64-bit. I don't remember.
It is.
Yeah. The thing is just that it's just one generation that makes a difference. But these 4 gigs of RAM make a huge difference.
Yes.
Yes.
It is
you could
night
even
and day.
go so far. Yeah, you could even go so far and tell you, okay, I want, for example, the browser temporary directory in ROM. Just give it like some kind of a space that will speed up the things you cannot even imagine.
Yeah, there's this profile sync daemon also, right? For Firefox? What is it called again? Is it just profile sync daemon that syncs your whole profile just to the RAM?
Yeah.
Which makes Firefox a little bit...
That is a good iteration.
I do love that.
I wouldn't even have to create that in FSTAB, so I could even use that. Well, but it's Firefox again, you know? I can't run Firefox with 1 gig of RAM, you know?
I think I've got
and it's
EMD
more
as well.
Okay.
Our doc.
Yeah.
45,332 characters in this.
Oh, yeah, by the way, do you guys know Nitro Key?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I had to think about it when you were talking about the like Surveillance Act, because YubiKey is like the most used device, and it's not open source, right?
Yeah, that's... That's a good point.
Other good one is the Only Key. Have you seen that one?
I've heard the name. I've never... I'm not familiar with it beyond that, though. Is that kind of like... It's like an open source...
Yeah, so the Only Key is actually really interesting because unlike a lot of the other ones where they have 1 or maybe 2 slot, and they rely on the pin code being input on the device, so like if you protect it that way, the Only Key, depending on how it's configured, because it does have a plausible deniability mode for going through, hostile customs or whatever else.
That's nice.
It'll have 6 to 12 slots, and you can configure it so that when you plug it in, even if you have the key and you have the pin code for on the computer, the Only Key won't do anything until you input a pin on the Only Key itself. And it has self-destruct features and everything else.
Huh.
And the best part is that it's the hardware and the software is open source.
Yeah.
And it will actually mimic and interact with Yubico servers. So it can pretend to be a YubiKey.
That's great.
That's awesome.
Never tell me the odds. Tell me the odds.
Well, at the end of the day, the Yubico servers are just using the U2F and X11 stuff.
Sure.
So as long as it's compliant, technically any compliant key could interact, and they really don't have a way to stop it because it's a protocol.
Never tell me the odds.
That's good.
Getting there.
Getting there.
Yeah.
I like on OnlyKey's website, they've got a particular photo that's catching my attention. It's kind of an above view of a keyboard on a laptop, but there are two like dog paws on the keyboard, which, as you might know, can be a problem. It says, say goodbye to password drama.
I like dog
I
paws.
like that one. Yeah, no.
Dog paws are great. What are you talking about?
Never tell me the odds.
There we go. That's good, right? Here,
Yeah,
let's
that's good.
Let's play it.
Never tell me the odds. Never tell me the odds.
It's a little tight, isn't it? It's a little too tight, huh? On the start there. Maybe I'll trim wide and then I'll trim it down when I get it into the other side there.
Since you're playing with audio clips, I uploaded one into the JB chat for you.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. Right.
Great. And am I going to want to do another one live
Yeah.
on air, though? Probably not.
Half a ship.
What is it?
It's one of my favorite scenes from Star Wars.
Never tell me the odds.
All right, so let's see if we go.
Tell me the odds.
We start.
Never tell me. Never tell.
The problem is
It's your remix, Chris.
The problem is that he's still talking when C-3PO is still talking. They over.
Never tell me the odds.
Right there.
All right. AI separate them quick.
Yeah, right. But that is it. But you can still hear C-3PO.
Never tell me the odds. Never tell me the odds. Never tell me the odds.
That damn robot.
Never tell me the
What
odds.
if you do a slight
I'm
fade
loving
in
this.
over C-3PO?
The
Yeah.
space mouse.
I'm just trying to figure out where that's at.
Never tell me the odds.
Probably right there. So trim it down a little bit.
Never tell.
Chris, you need a space mouse.
Never tell me the odds.
A space mouse?
Yeah.
I mean, that
It's,
sounds really cool.
Yeah, bring it on,
Yeah,
right?
it is. I put it in the chat. It is. You probably are familiar with a similar model from a popular TV series Brand starred in.
Man, I want to build something like that so
does
bad.
it click?
Never tell me the odds.
Never tell me the odds. What do you
This
say?
thing is cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. I am familiar.
Those are sweet.
I am familiar. We do need a space mouse in the studio.
Whoa.
If we could tie it into BitFocus, that would really take it to the next level.
If my memory serves correct, this is actually the company that created it. So
How cool.
Amazing.
yeah, and it actually was made for spaceflight, or space.
Yeah, don't they have these?
Organization?
I don't. I thought I saw something like this in like one of the SpaceX ships. They have like LCD screens and regular keyboards and crazy
Yeah,
nice.
and like a different version is in the Rocinante. Like you see Alex flying around with it.
Yeah. Okay. So how would you describe this to the listener? It's like it's got a knob in the middle and then a series of buttons around it. And some of them have LCD screens, and some of them are just knobs. It's like an ultimate control surface. The Enterprise version starts at $359. The Pro Wireless version starts at $295. Oh, actually, it's euros. Space Mouse Pro, $269, and then just the mouse is $140. This is so cool looking, though. Ooh-wee.
So it's basically a knob with a lot of buttons around it, but you have a lot of control about with the knob. It's specifically now marketed to people that do 3D modeling.
I am always talking about good knob control.
Yeah.
It's always something I'm going on about. It's trying to
but also like for like cutting clips, right? This could be very good.
Oh, for sure.
Well, now I just want one. It's Christmas season.
I've been wanting to make something similar with a rotary encoder instead, just for like video editing and audio stuff as well. But the 3D design is the hard part, right? I want something that actually conforms to my hand instead of just a blank, like a flat plate.
Oh, you want something real fancy.
Well, I just want it to be comfortable.
I just dropped a link to an open source version with a complete bill of materials into the chat.
Wow, that's so cool. Look at that.
And it says even easy to build at home.
Well, there you go. Let's do it.
There you go, Jeff.
Challenge accepted.
If I had a printer.
Wow, that does not look easy.
But it says easy in the title.
Is that the new If I Only Had a Hammer?
Pretty much.
If I
one
only had
of the cooler control surfaces I've seen people are reusing, like drone motors, and they're using nice little controllers and programming these suckers that instead of a regular rotary encoder, it's using the ESC, the electronic speed controller, as the encoder, and you can turn the whole drone motor or put a knob on it, and they're able to control the feedback, right? So you have full force feedback. You can do notching. You can do bounce back to a certain position. Just ridiculous, super smooth control. That's what I want to build for sure, instead of a standard rotary encoder. But man, it's hard to find those components. And again, don't have a damn printer.
If I only had a printer, I'd print in the morning.
Oh gosh, yeah.
I'd print in the evening.
Printing all over.
I'd print all over town. If I only had a printer. All right, I think we're gonna go with. Out with a Bang. I think that's feeling good. Don't you think?
Yeah.
Simple, to the point.
Indeed. I'm feeling quite excited about it. It's our last banger of the year. And then we're back. In the feeds, you'll have the Tuxies and our 2024 predictions. We're going to miss you guys, though. Let's say sayonara to the commercial streams, and then we'll wrap up here everywhere else with the members in the mobile room. Commercial streams, thank you very much for hanging out with us. I hope you enjoyed it. You're always welcome to join us over at Jupiter.tube or become a member at unpluggedcur.com, and then you get all of this automatically, especially all encoded up for you. All that. We still love you hanging out with us, don't we, Wes?
Oh, we sure do.
We sure do. Thanks, everybody. See you on the 7th. Have a great holiday.